Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha Massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. Rowan, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, Nami, Vivi, and Robin stared at this scene, their faces breaking into smiles. He won. Rowan won. Frankie, and the two giants, Kasha and Doimo, stared blankly at the scene before them. Marine Headquarters Admiral Akainu defeated? Inai's lobby utterly shattered. Admiral Akainu. Momonga, the only vice admiral not unconscious, struggled to his feet on the deck of the warship, staring in horror as Akainu plummeted towards the sea. Moonwalk. Momonga used all his remaining strength, ignoring the falling island fragments, and shot towards Akainu. Damn it. Reached my limit. VMM. After unleashing that final blow, Rowan's haki and stamina both reached their absolute limit. The giant form of the human fruit dissipated. The Azura aura power subsided. The 3 heads and 6 arms vanished. Whoosh. Ha. Rowan's body, now uncontrolled, began to fall towards the sea below. Haki, stamina. All at their limit. Rowan couldn't even move properly now. Rowan. Seeing Rowan begin to fall, everyone cried out in alarm. Gamu Gamu no. Luffy roared, using all his just recovered stamina for his devil fruit ability. His rubber arm shot out, catching Rowan's falling body. Everyone. Help me pull. Luffy yelled, gritting his teeth, his eyes bloodshot. Everyone immediately grabbed Luffy's outstretched rubber arm, pulling with all their might. Whoosh. Under their combined effort, Luffy's rubber arm snapped back violently. Rowan. Seeing Rowan pulled back onto the deck of the Arc Maxim, everyone rushed towards him. I'm fine. Just can't really move. Rowan said with a wry smile, looking at Nami, Vivi, and even Robin hugging him tightly. You guys are heavy. Rowan joked weakly. Humphrey. We're not heavy at all. Seeing Rowan was okay, Nami and Vivi, their eyes still filled with tears, retorted poutily. Robin, too, had tears in her eyes. Everyone. I won. Rowan stated, looking at his comrades, a tired smile on his face. Oh. Hearing Rowan's victory declaration, Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper all raised their fists high, letting out thunderous cheers. Usopp. Your shout was crucial. Rowan said, looking at the cheering Usopp with a smile. With his excellent eyesight and observation skills, Usopp was the first to notice Rowan was in trouble. After personally experiencing the effects of the Anthem of Courage trait, Rowan could appreciate even more the preciousness of Usopp, a naturally timid person, being able to sing humanity's Anthem of Courage. As expected of my reliable right-hand man. Rowan chuckled. Ha ha ha. Of course. I am the reliable right-hand man of the 5th Emperor, acknowledged by Sky Sovereign Rowan himself. Usopp the Brave. Usopp declared, his face filled with ecstatic pride. I heard all your shouts. It was you guys who let me win. Rowan said, looking at everyone, a genuine, heartfelt smile on his face. The path to stand above all is too lonely to walk alone. You'll all accompany me on this journey, right? You bastards. Rowan laughed heartily. Ha ha ha. Of course. We're comrades, after all. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp all roared with laughter, their joyous shouts echoing across the sky. Though Chopper was also excited, he immediately began examining Rowan's condition. Nami, Vivi, and Robin also smiled brightly. Of course, they would accompany Rowan on his journey. All the way to the end of their lives. I super love you guys, you bastards. Frankie, the self-proclaimed pervert, was moved to tears, wiping them away dramatically. Help me up. Where's Akainu? After laughing heartily with his comrades, Rowan looked towards Nami. Nami and Vivi carefully helped Rowan up, supporting him on their shoulders. Robin also supported him from the other side. They led Rowan to the edge of the Arc Maxim. Akainu's over there. Usopp, with his superior eyesight, yelled, pointing in a direction. Rowan, supported by Nami and Vivi, looked towards where Usopp was pointing. Chapter 155, Admiral Akainu. Momonga used Moonwalk to support Akainu's falling body, his eyes filled with anxiety. Yug. Akainu coughed up a mouthful of blood. Admiral Akainu, how are you feeling? Momonga asked urgently, relieved to see Akainu conscious. Your sword. Where is it? Akainu forced his eyes open, glaring intently at Momonga. Even for the iron-willed Akainu, speaking now was an immense struggle. His body was completely limp, his full weight pressing down on Momonga. It's here. Momonga replied, instinctively showing his sword. Stab. Stab me. Quickly. Akainu roared with all his remaining strength. Huh? Momonga initially didn't understand, but then realization dawned. Based on Admiral Aokiji's report, Sky Sovereign Rowan's ability to steal power had activation conditions. The target had to be at least completely unconscious, or even in a near-death state. Admiral Aokiji, despite losing a leg and being severely injured, had his powers spared because Rowan couldn't meet the conditions. Now, Admiral Akainu, refusing to let his powers be stolen by Rowan, was relying on his indomitable will to stay conscious despite his grievous injuries. Now, he needed intense pain to shock his body, to ensure he wouldn't pass out. Looking at Admiral Akainu's state, even Momonga, a core member of the Dove faction, felt a surge of profound respect. Really? A man of iron and blood. Squelch. With a flash of his sword, Momonga pierced 3 of Akainu's fingers. The fingers are connected to the heart. Akainu's eyes filled with agony. And not enough. Again. Akainu snarled. Squelch. Momonga didn't hesitate, swinging his sword again, piercing another 3 fingers. He didn't dare pierce all of Akainu's fingers at once. Too much pain could also cause him to faint. Pa. Pa. With 6 fingers pierced, intense pain shot through Akainu's brain. Sweat poured down his face. This iron-willed man had bitten his own teeth so hard they bled, his facial expression a mask of pure agony. Admiral Akainu. Let's go. Seeing Akainu's eyes regain some clarity, Momonga grit his teeth and began to flee, carrying Akainu. The other Buster Call forces were irrelevant now. Admiral Akainu was one of Marine Headquarters' 3 pillars, a cornerstone of their power. If he fell here, Momonga couldn't imagine the terrifying consequences. The entire sea would be thrown into chaos. Fortunately, after defeating Admiral Akainu, Sky Sovereign Rowan was also completely drained of stamina and hockey, rescued by Straw Hat. If Rowan had even a little strength left, their Super Buster Call, led by Admiral Akainu, would have been completely annihilated here. As Momonga fled desperately with Akainu, his eyes were still wide with horror. Even now, it all felt so unreal. Though Rowan was also completely exhausted, Admiral Akainu had truly been defeated. And unlike Aokiji, who lost due to being outmaneuvered, Admiral Akainu was defeated in a direct, one-on-one confrontation. What did that even mean? Among the 4 emperors, who could guarantee victory in a one-on-one death match against Admiral Akainu? Even Kaido, hailed as the strongest creature, couldn't guarantee it. In a life-or-death battle at this level, the outcome was always unpredictable, the smallest factor could lead to a completely different result. But undoubtedly, Sky Sovereign Rowan, this man, had truly ascended to the ranks of the absolute strongest on this sea. Momonga carried Akainu, his moonwalk pushed to its absolute limit, fleeing for his life. Akainu's gaze was filled with utter humiliation and unwillingness. When had he, Akainu, ever been forced into such a state by a pirate? Fleeing for his life like a beaten dog, carried by his subordinate. But at this moment, just staying conscious was his limit. He could only let Momonga carry him away. Akainu. Rowan watched Momonga flee with Akainu, panting heavily. Akainu truly was a tough bastard. Even with the power of Azura Aura, the support of his comrades, and the timely activation of Anthem of Courage, it was still an incredibly difficult victory for Rowan. He had to admit his respect for the man's tenacity. That pain, piercing one's own fingers, was beyond what a normal person could endure. Yet Akainu did it, just to prevent his power from being stolen. Pa. Pa. Rowan's breath came in ragged gasps. Whoosh. An air door opened. The Frankie family tumbled out, crashing hard onto the deck of the Ark Maxim, dazed and confused. Fortunately, the inherent toughness of One Piece world inhabitants meant they weren't injured. Big Bro Frankie. Big Bro Rowan. The Frankie family stared at Frankie and Rowan, then at the now vanished Inai's lobby, then at the countless motionless Marines, completely stunned. A wisp of smoke appeared. A massive golden pillar fell onto the Ark Maxim's deck, making the entire vessel lurch downwards. Rowan. Nami and Vivi cried out in alarm. The others also looked worriedly at Rowan. Stamina. Hockey. Completely drained. Can't maintain my devil fruit abilities anymore. Rowan said with a wry smile. His stamina and hockey were completely exhausted, overdrawn. He couldn't maintain the door fruit model, dimensional gate devil fruit ability, nor the combined smoke and munch abilities. The Frankie family, who had been in the door dimension, and the golden pillar, stored within his smoke, all fell out as his powers faded. This was the first time since coming to this world that Rowan had felt so weak. His body had already reached its limit long ago. No, not just its limit, he was completely overdrawn. Right now, Rowan couldn't even move a single finger. Okainu had actually worried for nothing. Rowan currently lacked even the strength to activate his plundering ability. Stamina and spiritual power were the fuel for all abilities, including the strongest trait system. After the brief euphoria of victory faded, Rowan's mind began to grow fuzzy. The Arc Maxim can't be powered without the Rumble fruit. But my strength. Rowan's stamina was completely gone, he couldn't use any devil fruit abilities. Worse still, the depletion of his spiritual power meant his observation hockey was completely offline. Rowan couldn't sense any of his surroundings. If another admiral arrived now, they truly would be annihilated. And before his powers completely faded, Rowan had vaguely sensed another incredibly powerful presence approaching, an admiral-level fighter. Gee, give me something to eat. Marine reinforcements are coming soon. Another admiral. Rowan managed to say, his voice strained. But simply eating couldn't replenish his now completely depleted, even overdrawn, spiritual power. What Rowan needed now was sleep. The same way Luffy and his crew recovered after major battles. But how could he possibly sleep peacefully now? How could he let them all be defeated here? After they had already won. Rowan's vision began to blur. Rowan. Everyone understood Rowan's thoughts. Though they had won the battle, the crew's condition was terrible. Especially Rowan. They had never seen him so weak. Unable even to activate his devil fruit abilities. And the Arc Maxim needed Rowan's Rumble fruit to fly. Currently, it was only floating on residual energy, its altitude already at its limit, let alone retreating. If they remained here, though they won the battle against the Buster Call, they would all be captured by the approaching admiral. Boom. The residual Rumble fruit energy in the Arc Maxim finally gave out. It began to fall. Splash. The Arc Maxim crashed heavily into the sea, sending up massive waves. Big bro Rowan. Let the King Bulls take you and get out of here. The Frankie family, realizing the dire situation, yelled, Zambi pointing towards the two giant sea creatures they had brought along. Let's go. Rowan. Nami urged frantically. Gold, the Arc Maxim. None of it mattered compared to Rowan. Can Kashai and Doimo get on? Usopp asked, unwilling to abandon the giants. No way. Their bodies are too big. One of the Frankie family members replied. Don't worry about us. Usopp. Bringing us news about our captains was more than enough. We can hold off the pursuers here. SKY Sovereign Rowan. And all of the Straw Hat Pirates. To fight alongside you was our honor. Kashai and Doimo laughed heartily. Their own bodies were covered in wounds from fighting the Marines, their stamina and combat strength were less than 10% of their normal levels. Saying they would hold off pursuers was essentially suicide. But to ensure Rowan's successful retreat, they were willing to burn the last of their strength. This was the code of Elbaf warriors. They would die fighting to carve a path for their friends. We still have some strength left. We'll take the other King Bull and stay about 5 minutes behind you. If the pursuers catch up, we'll hold them off, even if it costs us our lives. Sanji stated calmly, lighting a cigarette, though his hands were exhausted. Don't wear that expression, Rowan. You are the man who will stand above all. Sanji exhaled a puff of smoke, smiling faintly. Rowan, his eyes downcast, felt immense frustration. Had he really pushed his comrades to this point? Whoosh. Zoro, without the needing to be asked, knew Sanji meant the two of them. He leaped onto the other King Bull. His own stamina and haki were slowly recovering. Hey, Rowan. You're the one who showed me the way. That expression doesn't suit you. Zoro laughed. I'm the captain. I should be the one to stay behind. Luffy roared. Just go with Rowan, you idiot captain. Zoro replied, looking at Luffy, who was sprawled on the deck, only able to move his head, and smiled. The initial use of Gear 4th placed an immense burden on Luffy. And at the end, he used the last of his willpower to stretch and pull Rowan back onto the deck. Luffy too was completely immobile now. The total exhaustion of devil fruit power led to both physical and spiritual depletion, complete immobility. Rowan, too, deeply understood this state now. This was why, in the original story, when Luffy exhausted his powers, he looked like he had been completely sucked dry, unable to move. It wasn't something willpower could overcome. Helplessly, he allowed Nami and Vivi to support him onto the first King Bull. His eyes were filled with frustration. The King Bull's speed on the open sea wasn't fast. Could they really escape safely under these circumstances? To be trapped in such a dire situation. Rowan's mind began to grow hazy, even thinking was becoming difficult. Amidst the fog of his consciousness, Rowan thought he heard a voice. Rowan. Everyone. I've come to get you. A voice, almost ethereal, echoed. That's right. We have one more comrade. Usopp, who had been crying, suddenly roared. Mary. Everyone looked up in joyful disbelief at a familiar sailboat breaking through the mist in the distance. The Going Mary. The Claw-Batterman? Frankie stared, dumbfounded. He knew this pirate ship well. It was the legendary Going Mary, which had become famous across the seas alongside Rowan after he was hailed as the fifth emperor. But he never imagined. This ship had actually given birth to a Claw-Batterman. Mary. Rowan, seeing the Going Mary approach, felt deeply moved. Previously, though Rowan considered Luffy and the others his true comrades, it was partly because he admired them from the original story, and partly because he enjoyed their company. But with the strongest rate system, Rowan had never truly felt the need to rely on them. On the contrary, he was always thinking of ways to use the system to make them stronger, to become his important assets. But this time, Rowan had felt the true power of his comrades' support. In the desperate battle against Akainu, he activated the Anthem of Courage, defeating Akainu. And now, in this desperate situation, Mary, their precious comrade, had appeared at the most critical moment. Rowan felt his heart swell with emotion, and a profound sense of peace. That's right. He wasn't alone. He had many precious comrades. And Mary. With them, what did he have to worry about? I'm going to sleep now. Everyone. I'll leave the rest to you. Rowan said, looking up at his comrades, a genuine, heartfelt smile on his face. He just needed to entrust everything to his precious comrades. Rowan believed, when he woke up, he would already be in a safe place. Rowan's spirit, in that moment, became incredibly serene. It was a complete and utter relaxation he had never experienced since coming to this world. Under such a state of mind, his spiritual power would enter a phase of rapid growth. When Rowan awoke, his haki would be even stronger. Oh. Leave it to us. The crew, looking at Rowan, all roared with laughter. To be relied on by Rowan felt absolutely wonderful. Set sail. Nami leaped onto the Mary's deck, letting out a joyous laugh. Who's the navigator of this ship? Nami yelled, hands on her hips. Nami. Everyone cheered excitedly, raising their hands. All right. As long as there's wind and sea, I can take us anywhere. Nami declared. Hoist the sails. As Nami's cheerful command rang out, Rowan's consciousness finally faded into sleep. Though still within the waters of Inai's lobby, a relaxed, comfortable smile graced Rowan's face. His comrades were truly reliable. Chapter 156, Yo, Sakazuki. You look pretty pathetic right now. A lazy, infuriatingly casual voice drawled from above. VMM. A brilliant flash appeared, countless particles of light coalescing in the air to form a human figure. Admiral Kizaru. Momonga breathed a heavy sigh of relief. Borsellino. Okainu's eye twitched upon hearing Kizaru's voice. Hurry up and pursue him. Sky Sovereign Rowan is at his limit too. Okainu yelled, looking up at Kizaru, gasping for breath. Okainu had also reached his absolute limit. Only by sheer willpower, fueled by excruciating pain and adrenaline, could he maintain a sliver of consciousness. On this vast ocean, which direction do you want me to chase? Kizaru asked, even making a mock saluting gesture as he peered into the distance. It's over, Sakazuki. No matter how you look at it. Process or result. This war was, without a doubt, our complete and utter defeat. Kizaru stated, his usual lazy demeanor gone, his eyes unusually serious behind his sunglasses. Damn it. Okainu's vision began to blur. With Kizaru's arrival, his mind subconsciously relaxed. The adrenaline and pain that had kept him conscious now faded, and his mind plunged into darkness. He slumped forward, unconscious. Admiral Akainu. Momonga cried out in alarm. Don't worry. He just passed out. Kizaru commented, shouldering Akainu's unconscious form. Distant warships approached. To beat Sakazuki into unconsciousness. How scary. Kizaru murmured, looking out at the distant sea, his voice devoid of its usual teasing tone, replaced by deep gravity. Kizaru knew Sakazuki's strength all too well. Even with his glint fruit, the fastest devil fruit, he was no match for Sakazuki. Devil fruit, physique, haki. Sakazuki stood at the pinnacle of the seas. Yet, in a direct confrontation, he was beaten by Sky Sovereign Rowan to the point of fleeing, and now lay unconscious. A complete and utter defeat. The Super Buster Call, led by Akainu, against the Straw Hat Pirates led by Sky Sovereign Rowan. Marine headquarters had suffered a catastrophic loss. Fortunately, Sakazuki's powers hadn't been stolen by Rowan. Otherwise, if Kizaru had to face Rowan now, he too would have to turn and run. Let's go. Back to Marine headquarters. Kizaru instructed. Medics. Treat Admiral Akainu immediately. Remaining warships. Continue towards the Anais Lobby Sea region. If there are any survivors, conduct rescue operations. Kizaru commanded, returning to the deck of his warship with Akainu. Yes, Admiral Kizaru. The numerous Marines saluted, their faces filled with horror. The warships, carrying Akainu and the few surviving Marines, quickly arrived back at Marine headquarters. The surviving Marines rescued from the waters around Anais Lobby arrived shortly after. Marine headquarters was instantly thrown into turmoil. Countless wounded soldiers were carried from the ships, rushed to emergency medical treatment. And the most severely injured was one of their strongest combatants, Marine headquarters Admiral Akainu. The very admiral who had set out so imposingly with a buster call to subjugate Rowan and the Straw Hats had been beaten into unconsciousness by Rowan. Of the 5 vice-admirals, only Momunga returned relatively unscathed. 10 buster call warships all destroyed. 10,000 elite Marines suffered heavy casualties. The buster call, symbol of the world government's absolute justice, for the first time in history, had suffered such a crushing defeat. How is Sakazuki's condition? Sengoku asked gravely, looking at Kizaru, who had returned to report. Still unconscious. It will take some time for him to wake up. Kizaru replied, for once not using his usual lazy tone, seeing Sengoku's suppressed fury. No matter how lazy or flippant he acted, he was still a Marine admiral. In fact, when it came to completing missions, aside from his handling of the Straw Hat crew, Kizaru was arguably the most reliable of the 3 admirals. A true mission machine. Even against former teachers, friends, or favored juniors, Kizaru could bring himself to deliver the killing blow to complete a mission. Marine headquarters suffering such a heavy blow. Even Kizaru's heart felt heavy. They only had 3 admirals. Aokiji was severely injured with a lost leg, and Sakazuki was now unconscious and severely injured. Of the 3, he was the only one left standing unharmed. Combined with the loss of so many vice-admirals and elite forces, Marine headquarters had suffered an unprecedented blow at the hands of Sky Sovereign Rowan. Bastard! SKY Sovereign Rowan! Sengoku roared, slamming his fist on the desk. 2 admirals severely wounded, so many elite Marines lost. This wasn't just a loss of combat strength. It was a devastating blow to the very concept of justice. The Navy's dominance on the seas was built not just on official authority, but on the justice inherited and carried forward by generations of Marines. Justice wasn't just a simple slogan. With justice in their hearts, generations of new Marines could grow into the top-tier powerhouses of this sea. Upholding justice was a form of spiritual strength. In the One Piece power system, spiritual strength directly translated to hockey strength. The more a Marine adhered to their sense of justice, the greater their potential for growth. Akainu's extreme iron-blooded justice, for instance, had forged his armament hockey into arguably the strongest in the Navy. And the representatives of naval justice were undoubtedly the 3 Marine headquarters admirals, hailed as the world government's strongest combatants. It wasn't an exaggeration to call the admirals the very soul of the Navy. Each was a crucial pillar supporting the entire organization. But now, 2 of the 3 pillars had been defeated by Sky Sovereign Rowan. The impact on the Navy's prestige, on justice itself, was devastating. If the very foundation of justice was shaken, how could the next generation of Marines rise? The seas now, thanks to Rowan's wanton actions, were already in complete turmoil. If the new generation of Marines couldn't rise quickly, the Navy would face immense trouble. In the Fleet Admiral's office, Kizaru, Aokiji, and Tsuru were also silent. Justice was the foundation of the Navy. If that foundation was shaken, the Navy's future would be dire indeed. Buru buru buru. Just then, a transponder snail in the corner of Sengoku's office rang. Sengoku frowned upon seeing the snail. The number was the one he had given to Lafitte of the Blackbeard Pirates during the Warlord meeting. Back then, Lafitte had boasted their captain, Blackbeard Teach, would take Rowan's head to secure a Warlord position. Now that sounded like a complete joke. Even Aokiji and Akainu had fallen to Rowan. Marine headquarters had suffered an unprecedented defeat at the hands of Rowan and the Straw Hats. Without a doubt, the Straw Hat Pirates, with Rowan at their helm, were now a fully fledged Emperor crew. For an unknown pirate crew like Blackbeard's to go after Rowan was tantamount to suicide. But since they were calling now, Sengoku was curious what they wanted. Click. Sengoku answered the call. Zahahaha. Sengoku, is it? A wild laugh echoed from the snail. Who is this? Sengoku asked gravely. I am Blackbeard. Marshal D. Teach. Blackbeard grinned, showing his gap teeth. Oh? Did you capture Sky Sovereign Rowan? Sengoku asked mockingly. Sengoku was human too. Even as a human fruit model, Great Buddha Devil Fruit user. In his extremely foul mood, he needed to vent. This Blackbeard had called at just the right time. "Well, no," Blackbeard replied, his tone faltering slightly. Ever since learning Rowan had defeated Aokiji, Blackbeard had abandoned all thoughts of targeting that man. He was a true pirate. And pirates only cared about profit and risk. Though his dark fruit gave him an absolute advantage against devil fruit users, a super powerhouse capable of defeating a marine admiral wasn't someone who could be dealt with by the dark fruit alone. Now was clearly not the time to clash with Sky Sovereign Rowan. But he had already boasted about taking Rowan's head for the warlord position. Facing Sengoku's question, Blackbeard was momentarily at a loss for words. But then, looking at the unconscious figure beside him, Blackbeard grinned again. "I didn't capture Sky Sovereign Rowan. But the Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division commander, Fire Fist Ace. That should be enough, right? Enough to trade for a warlord position?" Zahahaha. Blackbeard laughed heartily. "What did you say?" Sengoku's pupils constricted. "Whitebeard 2nd Division commander? User of the Flare fruit. Fire Fist Ace." Fire Fist Ace's strength was also astonishing. An average vice admiral was no match for him. Even an admiral candidate couldn't guarantee victory against Ace. However, angering the Whitebeard Pirates because of you is not a good deal for us Marines. Sengoku pushed up his glasses. Defeating Ace certainly qualified this Blackbeard for a warlord position. But these were troubled times. Angering the Whitebeard Pirates over Fire Fist Ace was not in the Navy's best interest. I can throw in another piece of information. About Fire Fist Ace's lineage. Blackbeard grinned. Sengoku frowned. Portgas D. Ace's real name is Gal D. Ace. Zahahaha. Blackbeard's wild laughter made Sengoku's pupils constrict. Aokiji, Kizaru, and Tsuru's eyes all narrowed. Gal D. Ace? That's right. Ace is the son of the Pirate King, Gal D. Roger. Zahahaha. Blackbeard's insane laughter continued. Ace's identity had remained hidden until now. The Pirate King had Ace after the Roger Pirates disbanded, when Roger went to Baytarilla Island. Roger knew very well what would happen if his bloodline were discovered. So he entrusted this secret only to Garp. And Garp had hidden it well, never letting the information leak. The Roger Pirates crew didn't even know Roger had a child. However, after Ace joined the Whitebeard Pirates and truly came to see Whitebeard as his father, he revealed this secret to Whitebeard. Secrets, once known by a third person, were no longer true secrets. Blackbeard also knew Ace's true lineage. Garp. Sengoku's forehead veins throbbed. With his Buddha-like wisdom, Sengoku instantly connected the dots. No wonder the Navy and world government couldn't find any trace of Roger's bloodline back then, despite searching for so long. Roger had entrusted his son to Garp. As for its veracity, very easy to confirm. Back then, to find the bloodline, Marine headquarters had searched possible islands and pregnant women extensively. All the information gathered during that search was recorded in CP's archives. Knowing Ace's identity now, they could easily trace the records backward and confirm the truth. In fact, he didn't even need to check. Having fought Roger for so many years, having been comrades with Garp for so long, Sengoku knew their personalities all too well. Fire Fist Ace had to be Roger's son, entrusted to Garp. Fine. Hand over Fire Fist Ace to us. And we'll give you the warlord position. Sengoku stated gravely. Zahahaha. A pleasure doing business with you. Blackbeard smiled with satisfaction and hung up the transponder snail. Sengoku, what are you planning? Tsuru asked, her voice low. Justice has been severely wounded by Sky Sovereign Rowan. The Navy urgently needs to re-establish the authority of justice. This is a godsend opportunity. Publicly executing the Pirate King's bloodline. Our Navy's justice will be served. Sengoku's eyes blazed. Once Sakazuki recovers, gather all forces. We will hold a public execution for Fire Fist Ace. Sengoku stood up, pushing up his glasses. As for Garp, he will understand. Sengoku stated grimly. He knew about Garp's adoptive relationship with Ace, but he hadn't known Ace was Roger's bloodline. Garp, once he made a promise, would always keep it. He had hidden Ace's lineage well. Report to the 5 elders. Have Cypher Paul reinvestigate the Pirate King's bloodline using the previous clues and files. I want absolute, detailed confirmation of Fire Fist Ace's lineage. Sengoku had no intention of confirming it with Garp. He knew Garp, even if it were true, Garp wouldn't admit it. They had to confirm it themselves. Understood. Tsuru replied gravely. After suffering such a major defeat at Rowan's hands, the Navy needed a major event to boost morale and faith in justice. The public execution of the Pirate King's bloodline was the perfect way to do it. Once confirmed. Immediately prepare for war. Knowing Whitebeard's personality, he will absolutely not let us conduct the public execution smoothly. Sengoku began issuing a series of orders. Understood. Aokiji and Kizaru both nodded grimly. Summit war. The countdown had begun. World Economic News Agency. Akainu defeated by Sky Sovereign Rowan in a direct confrontation, forced to flee. The Buster Call. Almost completely annihilated in the war against Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates. Inai's lobby, unbreached for 800 years. Completely destroyed by Sky Sovereign Rowan. What a huge news. Morgans trembled with excitement. 2 of the 3 Marine Admirals. Defeated by Rowan. A super Buster Call led by Akainu. Utterly defeated. The Straw Hat Pirates were now a fully fledged Emperor crew. Spread this news across the seas. Let the chaos rage even more. Ha 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 ha. Morgans cackled. News crews quickly departed from every World Economic News Agency outpost, carrying this news to every corner of the world. Chapter 157. The World Economic News Agency's news crews delivered an explosive report to every corner of the sea. The 5th Emperor, Sky Sovereign Rowan, attacked Inai's lobby. The seat of the world government's highest court, a symbol of absolute justice where no criminal had ever been judged innocent. A fortress unbreached for 800 years. And facing this emperor's assault, the island's garrison was so utterly helpless they activated a Buster Call. The term Buster Call was unfamiliar to many on the seas. Even many within the Navy and world government were unaware of its true meaning. After all, once activated, a Buster Call completely annihilated its target location. All life, structures, and vegetation mercilessly destroyed. Naturally, few who witnessed it lived to tell the tale. Though the World Economic News Agency didn't detail the Buster Call's origins, it did describe the deployed military force, led by Marine Headquarters Admiral Akainu. With 5 Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals as its core strength. Over 200 elite officers of captain rank or higher, 10,000 elite Marine soldiers. And 10 advanced warships, built in Water 7, capable of traversing the calm belt and battling giant sea kings. The moment this deployment was detailed, the seas erupted in an uproar. For most pirates, Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals were insurmountable mountains. Opponents who typically faced Emperor crew commanders. Even pirates with bounties over 100 million, considered great pirates by common folk, wouldn't casually challenge a Vice Admiral. And this force against Rowan included 5 Vice Admirals. 10,000 elite Marines. Plus, Marine Headquarters Admiral Akainu, one of the world government's strongest combatants. Such a military deployment could easily destroy an entire country. An unbelievably terrifying military power. Against Sky Sovereign Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates. This was a horrifying, all-out war. Everyone who read the report anxiously scanned down for the results. And when they saw the outcome of this war, countless people across the seas were left utterly stunned. Marine Headquarters Admiral Akainu. Defeated. Escaped with his life only through a desperate, pathetic retreat. Of the 5 deployed Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals, Doberman and Strawberry were killed in action, by the hand of Sky Sovereign Rowan. Vice Admiral Onigamo was defeated by pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro, aided by the former Princess of Alabasta, Desert Princess Vivi. Who now wielded the sand fruit ability of the former warlord, Crocodile, thanks to the power of the man who can steal everything, Sky Sovereign Rowan. Vice Admiral Yamakaji. Defeated by Blackleg Sanji. Only one Vice Admiral, Momonga, managed to retreat from the battlefield. And even Momonga was completely outmatched by Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy. If not for the support of several rear admirals, Momonga too would have been defeated by Straw Hat. The remaining Marine forces, against the rest of the Straw Hat crew, gained no advantage whatsoever. After Admiral Akainu's defeat, the entire Buster Call force was completely routed. This terrifying military force was almost completely annihilated. This epic, all-out war resulted in a complete and utter victory for the 5th Emperor Sky Sovereign Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates. The moment the news broke, the seas were in an uproar. Though Rowan had previously defeated an admiral, that only spoke to his personal strength. The general perception of the Straw Hat Pirates was that they were a lucky rookie crew, sheltered under Rowan's protection. Their high bounties were seen as a reflection of Rowan's power, not their own. But this time was completely different. This was a battle against a frightening military force of over 10,000 elite Marines, 1 admiral, and 5 vice admirals. A true all-out war. Countless people across the seas stared at the reports, their hands trembling. Why could the emperors reign over the seas like true emperors? Besides their own overwhelming might, it was because they commanded terrifying forces. Each emperor's crew controlled vast territories, essentially their own pirate kingdoms. A complete emperor's crew consisted not just of the emperor, but also their second-in-command, their elite commanders. all renowned figures on the seas. They were powerful combatants, no less than admiral candidates or Marine headquarters vice-admirals. And countless other pirate crews and nations pledged allegiance to their flags. To declare war on a full emperor's crew wasn't just fighting a single pirate. It was fighting a horrifying empire. Previously, calling Rowan the fifth emperor was in recognition of his personal might. His standing wasn't considered on par with the four emperors, who had reigned for years and commanded vast forces. But now, it was completely different. Though Rowan played the decisive role in this war, the Straw Hat Pirates defeating a military force composed of 3 Marine headquarters vice-admirals and thousands of elite soldiers was an undeniable fact. Such a battle record, combined with Rowan himself. This was a pirate crew on the level of an emperor's. A true, emperor-like, dreadful force had appeared on the seas again. More terrifying still. Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates had been formed for less than a year. They hadn't even finished traversing the first half of the Grand Line, hadn't reached Sabati Archipelago. Yet they had become an emperor-level pirate crew. No wonder a man like Rowan chose this crew. What a scary potential. The news of Admiral Akayanu's defeat at Rowan's hands, his pathetic retreat only possible through the desperate rescue by Vice-Admiral Momunga, sent even greater shockwaves across the seas. Marine headquarters admirals. There were only 3. They symbolized the absolute military might of Marine headquarters, of the world government itself. Why were the Celestial Dragons so feared? Besides their status as world nobles, it was because harming them meant incurring the pursuit of a Marine admiral. For countless pirates, Marine admirals were untouchable mountains, beings against whom they had no hope of resistance. Yet 2 of the 3 Marine admirals had now been defeated by Sky Sovereign Rowan. Even with the prior news of Rowan defeating Aokiji, this latest development was still utterly shocking. Countless Marines felt as if their sense of justice had been shattered. Within the Navy, the 2 main factions, the Doves and the Hawks. Aokiji was the leader of the Doves, Akayanu, the leader of the Hawks. Aokiji's defeat already shook the confidence of the Dove faction. Now, Akayanyu's defeat was a devastating blow to all Marines. The leaders of both factions defeated. This was, without exaggeration, a complete defeat for the entire Navy. Sky Sovereign Rowan was just the 5th emperor, there were still the other 4, and the rising new generation of pirates. Could their navies still uphold justice on these seas? Following the successive defeats of Aokiji and Akayanyu, the morale of the entire navy plummeted to its lowest point. And the select few on these seas who truly understood Akayanyu's terrifying strength were even more incredulous. Though both were Marine admirals, Aokiji, limited by his ice fruit's lack of offensive power, was not on the same level as Akayanyu, who wielded the magma fruit, the devil fruit with the strongest offensive power. Akayanyu was a terrifying powerhouse capable of fighting head-on with a peak emperor. Even Kaido, hailed as the strongest creature, couldn't guarantee victory in a one-on-one deathmatch against Akayanyu. The result of a battle at that level was always unpredictable. Yet Akayanyu had been defeated by Sky Sovereign Rowan. Sky Sovereign Rowan's battle record was too scary, its significance too immense. From his battle record alone, Rowan had already surpassed the 4 emperors. Even Whitebeard, a legend from Roger's era, hailed as the world's strongest man, had no record of defeating 2 Marine admirals one-on-one. After all, the Navy always held a numerical advantage against any single emperor's crew. When targeting an emperor-level figure, they would deploy multiple admirals. But Rowan was special. Because his rumble fruit amplified his observation hockey range, the Navy could only dispatch 1 admiral at a time to hunt him. This gave a pirate of Rowan's caliber the environment for a one-on-one battle with an admiral. Within the entire Navy, who else could defeat Rowan in a one-on-one fight? Even the legendary Marine hero, Garp, probably couldn't achieve such a feat. To defeat Akayanyu one-on-one, head-on. Sky Sovereign Rowan could now fully contend with Kaido for his other title strongest one-on-one. On these seas, no one would say they could definitely win against Sky Sovereign Rowan in a one-on-one battle. Not even a peak emperor. Sky Sovereign Rowan was now not only the world's most dangerous man. In many people's eyes, Rowan could now also contend for the title of the world's strongest man. After all, Whitebeard was a relic of a past era. At 72, though still revered, he was clearly past his prime. Otherwise, people wouldn't speculate that Kaido might be the strongest one-on-one. With such a brilliant battle record, Rowan certainly had the qualifications to contend for the title of world's strongest man. Many ambitious figures even began to spread this slogan, hoping to incite conflict between Rowan and Whitebeard. For them, the more chaotic the seas, the better. Red Hair Pirates territory. Unbelievable. Even Akayanyu was defeated by that man. Ben Beckman exhaled a thick cloud of smoke, looking at the news report. Even someone as composed as Beckman had shock in his eyes. He knew Akanu's strength all too well. Yes. That young man is astonishing. Hawkeye's judgment was truly sharp. Shanks commented, equally impressed. Back then, when Rowan had just made his name, Mohawk, after encountering the still-developing Rowan in the East Blue and clashing hockey, had said Rowan's future hockey might surpass his own. How much time had passed? Rowan was now truly standing at the same height as them. Shanks acknowledged this fact. Sky Sovereign Rowan was a pirate on the same level as them. The four emperors. But Luffy and the others' growth is also remarkably fast. Rowan must have had a hand in it. Beckman added, smiling as he looked at the reports. He was very fond of Luffy and knew his potential. But for Luffy, and the rest of the Straw Hats, to grow this quickly was completely illogical. And that man, Sky Sovereign Rowan, was undoubtedly the one man on these seas most capable of breaking logic. Whether in devil fruits or strength progression, Rowan had repeatedly shattered the history of the seas. Ah. Looks like we'll be meeting soon, Luffy. Shanks smiled. But right now, what worries me most is Ace and Teach. I have a very bad feeling. Shanks's smile faded, his expression turning grim. He hadn't told Whitebeard about Teach's true nature earlier because he knew Whitebeard's character. He viewed his crew as his family above all else. Before Teach fully revealed his ambitions, Whitebeard still saw him as an important son. Telling Whitebeard prematurely wouldn't have been a warning, it would have been declaring war on the Whitebeard pirates. Shanks wouldn't do something foolish. After Teach revealed his ambitions, Shanks personally went to the Whitebeard pirates to try and stop Ace from pursuing him. Unfortunately, he failed. We can only wait now. The situation is beyond our control. These seas are about to erupt. Beckman sighed, looking out at the ominous sky. Ah. We too must prepare for war, Shanks stated gravely. And on the Moby Dick, the Whitebeard pirates were completely thrown into an uproar. Teach. Whitebeard roared, his eyes filled with fury. In Marco's hand, the Vivre card representing Ace's life force was wavering violently. This meant Ace was in trouble. Pops. Ace isn't in life-threatening danger yet. But based on the Vivre card's condition, he's likely been captured by Teach. Marco reported, his face grim. Red Hair was right. Ace, pursuing Blackbeard, had really gotten into trouble. Chapter 158, Ace. Whitebeard rumbled, his eyes bloodshot. In truth, he didn't need the red-haired brat to tell him. After the Teach incident, Whitebeard had told Ace to let it go, to consider it an exception. Though Whitebeard had treated Teach like a true son, he was also aware of Teach's uniqueness. But Ace, especially after enduring a childhood where the Navy and world government constantly proclaimed his very existence as a sin due to his Roger lineage, had long since came to see Whitebeard as his true father, and the Whitebeard pirates as his true family. Family meant everything to Whitebeard. And for Ace, it was the most precious thing in the world. Ace, disregarding his advice, had stubbornly set out to pursue Teach. And now, he was in trouble. But Whitebeard felt no blame towards Ace. He was simply enforcing the ironclad rule of his ship. The responsibility for this defeat belonged to him, the father. Pops. Should we follow the Vivre card to find Ace? Marco asked urgently. No. Though filled with rage and anxiety, Whitebeard, a legendary pirate who had survived countless brutal wars, knew that rage was meaningless. He took several deep breaths, suppressing his anger. I sensed something of Teach's ambition. Capturing Ace instead of killing him means Teach has a deeper goal. Whitebeard stated gravely, his eyes dark. Ace wasn't just his son. Ace was also Roger's son. Though Whitebeard himself couldn't care less about that identity. To Whitebeard, everyone was a child of the sea, and anyone who boarded his ship was his son. But that identity meant something entirely different to the Marines and the world government. The bloodline of the Pirate King. The Navy and the world government would never allow it to exist in this world. Though Ace's identity was well hidden, Teach, as a veteran member of the 2nd Division, knew the truth. And Teach, to achieve his ambitions, would surely leak this secret if necessary. Knowing they possessed Ace's Vivre card, yet choosing to capture him instead of kill him. It was obvious Teach intended to use Ace as a stepping stone to achieve his ambition. Teach would likely hand Ace over to the Navy and expose his identity. If so, Whitebeard looked at the latest news report in his hand. About Sky Sovereign Rowan defeating Akainu, routing the Buster Call, and destroying Anai's lobby. Sengoku won't pass up this opportunity. Though they hadn't faced each other in years, as old rivals, Whitebeard knew Sengoku's methods all too well. Sky Sovereign Rowan had dealt a heavy blow to the Navy's morale. And Ace's identity was the perfect tool to restore faith in justice. Prepare for war, Marco. Have all affiliated pirate crews under the Whitebeard banner prepare for battle. Whitebeard commanded, his gaze grim as he looked at the somber sky. Ace was his son. He suffered this calamity because of the rules he, Whitebeard, set. And he, the father, would save Ace, even if it cost him his life. No matter the circumstances. At this moment, Whitebeard could roughly deduce what Teach intended, and what fate awaited Ace. Following the Vivre card now would be futile, only exposing their movements. The Navy constantly had spy ships monitoring the Emperor's cruise. The moment the Whitebeard pirates made a move, the Navy would know immediately, potentially putting Ace in even greater danger. To save Ace, they couldn't be rash. When they acted, it had to be with the force of a thunderbolt, to rescue Ace decisively. Though his eyes were dark with grim determination, Whitebeard maintained the cold calm befitting a king from a bygone era. "Yes, Pops." Marco replied instantly, his own expression grim. Ace was his precious brother. The Whitebeard pirates would never abandon family. This wasn't just Whitebeard's code, it was the belief of the entire crew. The Emperor, Whitebeard, began preparing for war. Meanwhile, Marine headquarters and the world government had also seen the World Economic News Agency's reports. Though furious, it was within their expectations. Morgans was a man who would publish any news. And a disturbance this massive was impossible to hide. Since it was already done, their only recourse was to once again raise the bounties of Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates. But for Marine headquarters and the world government, a more important matter was now at hand. Fire Fist Ace had been handed over to them by Blackbeard. Verification of Ace's identity was quickly concluded. The search for the Pirate King's bloodline had been incredibly thorough, all information was recorded in CP's archives. Knowing Ace's identity, a reverse lookup for a massive organization like the world government was simple. The truth was quickly confirmed. Whitebeard Pirates 2nd Division Commander, Fire Fist Portgas D. Ace. Mother's name, Portgas D. Rouge. Father, the most sinful bloodline. Pirate King, Gall D. Roger. The reason he evaded their initial search was because his mother, Rouge, through sheer willpower, carried him in her womb for 20 months before giving birth. Immediately after giving birth to this sinful bloodline, Rouge passed away. The Pirate King's bloodline. They had captured it. This was a monumental event. Especially now, with the Navy's belief in justice at an all-time low due to Sky Sovereign Rowan, on the verge of collapse. Two of their leading figures, the heads of both the Dove and Hawk factions, defeated by Rowan. The blow to the Navy's morale was too great. The Navy desperately needed a victory to wash away this shame and restore faith in justice. And what better way than to publicly execute the bloodline of the Pirate King? The warlord position, left vacant by Crocodile's death, was immediately given to Blackbeard, Marshal D. Teach. The entire Navy began to turn at a frightening pace. The public execution of Fire Fist Ace could not have any mishaps. All forces had to be mobilized to ensure its completion. After all, they would be facing the wrath of the world's strongest man, Whitebeard. For this, they had to wait until Akanu's injuries healed and his combat strength was restored before making the public announcement. Fire Fist Ace was imprisoned in the Great Undersea Prison, Impel Down. And Marine Headquarters Admiral Kizaru was dispatched by Sengoku to personally guard Impel Down. Fire Fist Ace was too crucial to the Navy now, absolutely no mistakes could be tolerated. Furthermore, Ace had a connection to Rowan. His flare fruit ability had been copied by Rowan through unknown means. With this connection, they had to guard against Rowan's interference. At least one admiral was needed to guard Ace's prison. Magellan, the warden of Impel Down, alone wasn't enough to make Sengoku feel secure. Thus, Kizaru was directly dispatched to Impel Down. The Navy, the Whitebeard Pirates, the Red Hair Pirates, all began secretly preparing for war. From this moment on, the Summit War had officially begun. Aboard the Going Merry NGH. Rowan slowly opened his eyes. Pa. Rowan took a deep breath, inhaling 3 familiar, wonderful scents. They belonged to Nami, Vivi, and Robin. One could imagine, while he was asleep, the 3 women had checked on him more than once. Rowan sat up, shaking his head slightly. Sleeping from complete spiritual power exhaustion was entirely different from normal sleep. He had entered an extremely deep state of slumber. Spirit entered ethereal state. Spiritual power massively increased. Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, activated. Conqueror's Hockey massively enhanced. Through life or death struggle, manifested 5 senses and 6th sense have been enhanced. Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, activated. Observation Hockey enhanced. A notification appeared before Rowan's eyes. His observation Hockey had strengthened for the first time due to experiencing a life or death battle. Under extreme mortal danger, the limits of human potential were unlocked. The manifested 5 and 6 senses were greatly tempered, enhancing observation Hockey's intensity. This battle with Akainu, though exceeding Rowan's initial expectations, had a good outcome. Not only had he equipped the Azura Aura and Anthem of Courage special traits, but more importantly, he had forged the true, resolute will of a strong powerhouse. Only with this will could he truly charge towards the absolute peak. Rowan could clearly feel that the Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, trait, whose progress had slowed, was now once again rapidly digesting sea energy and enhancing his Haki. Without a strong will. After reaching Apex Gold Conqueror's Haki, even with the Haki training cheat code Born of the Sea, progress would be extremely slow. But now, after his spiritual metamorphosis, he could once again use Born of the Sea to continuously strengthen his Conqueror's Haki. And after the metamorphosis, his spiritual power had massively increased. Combined with his absolute trust in his comrades, his spirit had entered an ethereal state, further amplifying his spiritual strength. This single battle had increased Rowan's Conqueror's Haki by a full Apex Gold tier. Previously, Rowan's Conqueror's Haki was just barely at the Apex Gold threshold, equivalent to Apex Gold 1. Now, his Conqueror's Haki had reached Apex Gold 2. And he had mastered a special application of Conqueror's Haki, Conqueror's Roar. Conqueror's Haki could form a tangible storm. Within his Haki storm, even Devil Fruit abilities could be restricted. This application of Conqueror's Haki was the same used by Saint Morcury during the Egghead incident, and by Shanks in the movie. The sheer force of the impact. Even many Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals couldn't withstand it. Under the roar of Conqueror's Haki, even Devil Fruit abilities would be greatly restricted, potentially even preventing their use. Though he hadn't obtained Akainu's Magma Fruit, this gain was still astonishing. After reaching Apex Gold, further increasing Conqueror's Haki was incredibly difficult. Now, it had advanced to full tier, enhancing both its power and duration significantly. His newly Apex Gold Conqueror's Haki still had a considerable gap compared to Shanks, Kaido, and the others. Especially Shanks, relying solely on Conqueror's coding and swordsmanship, without any Devil Fruit, was very strong. The title world's most dominant Haki user was undoubtedly his. The reason Shanks was so strong was primarily his Conqueror's coding. Swordsmanship, while elevating Shanks's combat ceiling, was something other martial arts masters could also use to elevate their own. After his continuous battles with Aokiji and Akainu, Rowan also understood the importance of martial arts. He understood why Garp was proud of his fists. Martial arts, for a powerhouse of this level, provided an amplification no less than swordsmanship. And the fists Garp owned, if described in terms of swordsmanship, were like forging a personal, famous blade, Mto. Famous blades were divided into skillful grade, great grade, and supreme grade. These grades weren't just for show, they provided a massive boost to a powerhouse's combat strength. After his life-or-death struggle with a powerhouse like Akainu, Rowan had a new understanding of martial arts and swordsmanship in the One Piece power system. Just as famous blades had grades, the martial arts fists honed by Garp and others also had grades. Garp had likely honed his fists to the equivalent of a supreme grade sword. One could imagine the amplification those honed fists provided to Garp's combat strength. In the Hikinazu incident, Aokiji was almost helpless against Garp. Only after Garp was injured by a sneak attack did Aokiji dare to engage him in close combat. Hone my martial arts fists? Rowan looked at his own fists and smiled. He had found another path to strength. To hone his own fists to the equivalent of a supreme grade sword was Rowan's new pursuit. GRR. His stomach rumbled. Right now, the most important thing for Rowan was to fill his stomach. He felt extremely hungry. Click. Rowan. You're awake? The door opened quietly, and Nami's small head peeked in carefully. Seeing Rowan awake, her beautiful face instantly lit up with joy. Rowan's awake. Bang. Nami dodged aside just as the rest of the crew, in their excitement, crashed into a pile, completely demolishing Rowan's cabin door. Luffy and the others tumbled to the floor but still looked excitedly at Rowan. Wah. Let me out. I'm a doctor. Chopper's cute, muffled cries came from the bottom of the pile. Then. I said. Let me out. Boom. Chopper, in his giantized form, sent everyone on top of him flying. Rowan. How are you feeling? Are you uncomfortable anywhere? Chopper, in his small form again, scurried anxiously to Rowan's side, concerned. Feeling great, Dr. Chopper. Rowan chuckled. Even if you call me doctor, it won't make me happy, you bastard. Chopper danced with joy, his eyes closing into cute crescents. Ha 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 ha. Seeing his comrades, Rowan felt wonderful. Sanji. I'm hungry. Rowan said with a smile. Oh. The best pirate lunchbox is already prepared. Sanji beamed. Chapter 159, Bonus, Explosive Growth. This era belongs to Sky Sovereign. Rowan ravenously devoured all the delicious food. Food after complete physique exhaustion. Tasted even more exquisite than usual. Superhuman demonic physique, Apex Gold, activated. Physique energy continuously increasing. The food Rowan consumed was rapidly digested under the effect of his superhuman demonic physique trait, converted into his own physical energy, replenishing every cell in his body. His physique energy, previously depleted and overdrawn, quickly recovered. Then grew even stronger. In his life-or-death battle with Akainu, Rowan's physical energy was completely exhausted for the first time, even overdrawn. This extreme state fully activated the training recovery aspect inherited from Zoro's demonic physique, maximizing its synergy with Luffy's superhuman physique during this feast. After reaching the Apex Gold tier, further increasing Haki or physique energy became incredibly difficult. Plundering other traits, even pale gold traits from Vice Admiral level fighters, had minimal effect. Apex Gold, Emperor level, was the pinnacle of combat strength on these seas, the absolute top tier of any era. Further improvement at this level was incredibly challenging. Under these circumstances, potential type traits became even more important. Rowan's physique, under the effect of superhuman demonic physique, Apex Gold, grew stronger at a rapid pace. The crucible of life-or-death battle carried immense risk. Having personally experienced it against Akainu, Rowan had a new understanding. In such a battle, one wrong move meant true death. And precisely because of that, under such extreme conditions, human potential could be truly unlocked. Those who survived the tempering of life and death could achieve massive growth. His eating speed gradually slowed, his digestion rate also returning to normal. This phase of growth was nearing its end. Full. Rowan exhaled contentedly, clenching his fists, feeling the immense power suffusing every cell in his body. This time, his physique, like his Haki, had received a massive boost. From Apex Gold 1, it had advanced a tier to Apex Gold 2. Rowan was quite satisfied with this gain. Physique energy wasn't just fuel for Haki and Devil Fruit abilities, combined with Azura Aura and Hikaku Sovereignty, Rowan could now channel Hikaku Sovereignty's shockwave energy into a physical energy cloud, coating his fists like Haki. Practically another form of Devil Fruit ability. And as Rowan's physique grew stronger, the power of Azura Aura and Hikaku Sovereignty would also increase, directly enhancing his combat strength. The increase in both his Haki and physique was no less than the gains from directly plundering all the power of an Admiral-level fighter. Which made Rowan realize, after reaching Apex Gold, to break one's own limits, one ultimately had to rely on oneself. Especially to surpass the Emperor level, to reach a new height. Rowan activated the intelligence enhancement of his human fruit ability, deep in thought. In the current era, the limit of a powerhouse's strength was peak Emperor level. Kaido and Shanks were at this level. A single individual couldn't handle the combined assault of 2 or more Admiral-level fighters. But from later events in the One Piece story, Joy Boy most likely surpassed the Emperor level, reaching a new height. Whether it was the Conqueror's Haki blast stored in the ancient robot for 800 years, its release making even Imu tremble and kneel, or the depiction on the Elbaf murals of Joy Boy battling the original 20 kings who formed the world government. Both demonstrated Joy Boy's power had reached a new level. At the very least, he could definitely fight multiple Admiral-level opponents. To achieve this, simply plundering the strength of others wasn't enough. After all, the current strongest were the 4 emperors, and based on existing intel, their strength was still considerably below Joy Boy's level. Even plundering all their power likely wouldn't allow Rowan to reach Joy Boy's realm. Reaching that level required tapping into humanity's own limitless potential. This was a profound realization for Rowan after his life-or-death battle with Akainu. And the powerful potential type traits he possessed were now key to his future growth. The superhuman demonic physique, Apex Gold, was a special trait, not only representing Rowan's current strength but also allowing his physique to surpass its inherent limits. His future physical development relied on this trait. His Haki potential was tied to Born of the Sea, Apex Gold. His spirit, now tempered by the battle with Akainu, could accommodate and digest even more of the sea's energy, continuously strengthening his Haki. Plus Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, granted further growth potential. These were his 3 strongest potential type traits. The Summit War was approaching. An era was about to end. And with the fall of Whitebeard, who, despite Rowan's meteoric rise, still remained the undisputed figurehead of the pirate faction. Rowan's very first Apex Gold potential trait, Faction Fortune, would unleash its full power. Crocodile's fall, triggering Faction Fortune for the first time, had allowed him preliminarily master Conqueror's coding. But Crocodile's influence within the pirate faction, compared to Whitebeard, was like a firefly compared to the moon. Whitebeard's fall would surely usher in a new era. In the original story, the new era was still one of chaotic warfare. But in this new era, there would be only one name. Sky Sovereign. Rowan's eyes blazed with astonishing ambition. It was time to charge towards the pinnacle of this era. The Summit War was the true starting point for Rowan to forge his own era. I worried you all, Nami, Vivi. Rowan's thoughts, processed in an instant thanks to the human fruit, brought him back to the present. He looked at Nami and Vivi, his women, and smiled warmly. And you too, Robin. Robin, whose eyes had darkened slightly because Rowan only named Nami and Vivi, now covered her mouth, staring at Rowan's gentle smile. Without your cheers, I couldn't have won that fight against a KNU in the end. Rowan said, taking the hands of all three women and smiling. And of course, all of you too. Rowan added, looking towards Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, and Chopper. Everyone beamed with pure joy. This time, they weren't just under Rowan's protection, they had become a true source of Rowan's strength. Shishishi. We're comrades. Isn't that a given? Luffy grinned. But Rowan, my strength has increased again too. Luffy declared, his eyes burning with fighting spirit. After the battle, Luffy had also collapsed, falling into a deep sleep for 5 days while Rowan slept for 7. Not just Luffy. Zoro and Sanji, having also reached their limits, slept for 3 days. That battle had truly drained all of them. But after such complete exhaustion came explosive growth. Luffy's Gear 4th, the next time he used it, wouldn't be as strenuous. And his physique and haki were significantly stronger. Our strength has grown too, Rowan. Next time, make sure you use that intelligence boost from your fruit to give us stronger opponents. Sanji said, flexing his wrist. Rowan's appetite was already impressive. Humphrey. Zoro also grinned. And me. My sand fruit ability has gotten stronger too. Vivi added, cutely raising her small hand. Of course. You are all my important comrades. Rowan smiled. He then checked everyone's traits. Sanji's combat power had reached pale gold, even approaching deep gold. The enhancement from his awakened exoskeleton was astonishing. Sanji, previously only at Rear Admiral level, had leaped to the top tier of Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals. Though not yet 4 Emperor's Commander level, he could fight head-on with high-ranking officers of an Emperor's crew. In his Ifrit jammed state, with its blue flames hotter than the flare fruit's limit, combined with his exoskeleton and armament haki, his raw offensive power had reached deep gold. Ifrit Jam, deep gold, a deep gold tier ultimate technique trait. And the modified exoskeleton, now awakened, would further strengthen him. Sanji reaching base 4 Emperor's Commander level was just a matter of time. Zoro's physique and haki, after defeating Onigamo, were also much stronger. His swordsmanship had also improved drastically. Zoro's 3-sword style, unlike Mihawk's controlled blend of strength and finesse, was pure raw power. The boost to his physique directly translated to stronger sword strikes. Demonic physique, pale gold, 3-sword style, pale gold. Even in his base state, Zoro was now undoubtedly Vice Admiral level. Though, in his base state now, Zoro's combat strength was slightly inferior to Sanji with his exoskeleton, which had been massively amplified. But Zoro's strongest form was his Azura state. Channeling the power of Conqueror's haki with his Azura aura. In that state, his 9-sword style attacks were deep gold level. 9-sword style, deep gold. Seeing their new trait tiers, Rowan smiled. To reach such strength at this point in time, who could say he wasn't the strongest mentor? Though Zoro and Sanji's strength also came from their own potential traits, Rowan's Conqueror's coding training played a crucial role. Without Rowan's demon-like training, they would never have reached this level so quickly. And seeing Vivi's traits left Rowan even more impressed. Sand fruit, pale gold, Vivi now also possessed Vice Admiral level strength. And she was incredibly close to awakening her fruit. Vivi's affinity for the sand fruit had already surpassed Rowan's expectations. Her initial progress stunned even Luffy and the others. Now, after such a massive battle, the tempering effect had further boosted her mastery of the fruit, bringing her one step closer to awakening. Once awakened, though the fruit alone wouldn't grant Vivi Admiral level strength, reaching peak 4 Emperor's Commander level was very possible. And Rowan would later give her Conqueror's haki. As for Luffy, Gear 4th, deep gold. In Gear 4th, Luffy was a 4 Emperor's Commander level fighter. And Luffy also now had an ultimate technique trait. Gear 4th, King Kong Gun, deep gold. This combined the powers of Gear 4th and Gear 3rd. During the Anai's Lobby battle, having only just mastered Gear 4th, Luffy's strength in that form had only barely reached deep gold tier. He couldn't even use Gear 3rd in Gear 4th. Now, after recovering from that battle, not only had Luffy's physique and haki become much stronger, But his assimilation of Nika's desire for liberation also progressed. The original story's monster trio should probably be called the Monster Quartet now, adding Vivi. Your strength has truly grown. Rowan smiled. With him included. They were a true, fully fledged, Emperor-level pirate crew. Of course. We're your comrades. The crew all laughed heartily. Just like I said back on Anai's lobby. Rowan declared, a powerful smile on his face. The path to standing above all is too lonely to walk alone. Accompany me to the end. This era will bear the name SKY Sovereign. Rowan roared with laughter. Oh. The crew also erupted in joyous laughter. Luffy beamed as well. He just wanted to be king of the pirates, the freest man on these seas. As for the name of the era, that, of course, belonged to Rowan. This era would be named for Sky Sovereign. Chapter 160, 160, Munch Munch Fruit Awakened. Space-time, Cammy. Mary's rebirth. After the raucous party with his comrades, Rowan also learned from Nami what happened while he was asleep. After the Anai's lobby battle concluded, Nami, relying on her superb navigation skills, had guided everyone back to the waters near Water 7. Since her log pose only pointed towards Water 7, it was their only viable destination. Sailing aimlessly on the Grand Line without a log pose was incredibly dangerous. And with Rowan, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji all unconscious, their crew's combat strength was at its lowest point. So Nami had chosen to anchor in a safe, hidden spot near Water 7. Her climate sense allowed her to predict and avoid dangerous weather patterns, ensuring the crew's safety during their recovery. Only someone with climate sense could do that. Only after Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy successively awoke did Nami choose to sail to Water 7, heading to the Frankie family's base to rest and resupply. The Arc Maxim and the Golden Pillars had naturally been brought back by Nami as well. The Going Merry, which came to rescue them, was stocked with many ship repair tools and materials. Mary herself, in the mist, had materialized and asked Iceberg to place them aboard. For Rowan and the crew, Mary had pushed her potential to its limit, communicating with Iceberg, making all preparations to ensure she could bring them back. With these tools and materials, Frankie, along with the numerous members of the Frankie family, immediately installed a temporary sail on the Arc Maxim. The Arc Maxim couldn't sail on the sea because it lacked sails to harness the wind for steering, it could only fly using the Rumble Rumble Fruit's power. This modification wasn't just to transport the Arc Maxim and the Golden Pillars. A larger ship with larger sails could harness more of the sea's wind and power, making it much faster than the Going Merry once controlled. Nami quickly mastered piloting the Arc Maxim, lashing it to Merry and fleeing the Anai's lobby sea area at top speed. That part was a miscalculation on my part. Rowan admitted, shouldering the responsibility. He had underestimated the true strength and tenacity of those who had risen to power through countless brutal battles on these seas. He had assumed his giant form, empowered by Azura Aura, would be enough to defeat a Kanyu, or at least allow a smooth retreat. But a Kanyu's ferocity and endurance in a life-or-death struggle far exceeded his expectations. Even then, his victory was only possible thanks to his comrades' shouts and the activation of the Anthem of Courage, pushing him beyond his limits. Even so, it left him completely drained. They escaped only thanks to Mary's appearance. He had nearly put his comrades in mortal danger. Fortunately, the experience had also tempered his spirit significantly. But such a close call. He couldn't rely solely on last-minute breakthroughs anymore. His future actions needed to be even more meticulous and calculated. We're comrades. Even if something happens, we face it together. Luffy grinned. The others also smiled. Bang. A whoa. Little Bro Rowan. You're awake? A perverted figure burst in. Frankie. Rowan greeted with a smile. I've brought some super materials. A piece of the treasure tree atom. Frankie pushed up his sunglasses, grinning. But to use atom wood as a keel, we can only build a new ship. Little bro Luffy and the others said you might have a way. The keel was a ship's core, its life. Once a keel was damaged, it couldn't be replaced, a new ship had to be built. In the original story, Mary's keel was severely damaged, and only with the help of her Clabaterman spirit did she even reach Water 7. Any other ship would have sunk long ago. Thanks to Rowan's special protection, Mary's keel wasn't damaged, but reinforcing it was impossible. The wood had reached its limit. They could only repair the other parts of Mary. But Mary's fundamental structure hadn't changed. She couldn't handle the subsequent voyages on the Grand Line, let alone a new world. She was built from ordinary materials, unsuitable for the Grand Line's harsh climate. To reach the final island, they needed a ship with a stronger keel. Treasure Tree Atom was an excellent choice. Of course we can't abandon Mary. She's our precious comrade. Luffy declared loudly. Everyone nodded seriously. This time, it was Mary who saved them from a dire situation. Idiot. Forcing it to continue sailing is cruel. This ship simply can't handle the Grand Line. If little bro Rowan hadn't used his devil fruit power to protect her keel, she probably would have been unable to sail long ago. If little bro Rowan can strengthen her, I have nothing to say. But if not, then leaving her here and getting a new ship is the right choice. Otherwise, you're just hurting yourselves, and this ship that has given birth to a clabbatterman. Do you want to watch her sink? When it came to ships, Frankie was incredibly serious. Even knowing their immense power, he grabbed Luffy's collar and roared. If that's all the resolve you have, I misjudged you. Straw Hat. Frankie shoved Luffy to the ground. You're right. Luffy said after a moment's silence, standing up. Rowan. Please. If you can reinforce her, let's continue sailing with Mary. But if not, after we return from the Grand Line, we'll take Mary home. Luffy looked at Rowan, his smile heartbreakingly sincere. Everyone else was silent, but even Usopp didn't object. After all, Mary was still okay. At worst, she would wait for them here. They could see her again someday. That was better than watching her suffer an unbearable journey and sink. Let me try. Using the munch fruit to fuse Mary's keel with the treasure tree atom. Rowan stated, stepping out of the room, looking at Mary with absolute seriousness. Munch fruit? Everyone looked on with anticipation. Rowan. Everyone. Don't worry. Even if it doesn't work. Being able to travel with everyone to this point. I'm already content. You all must achieve your dreams. Mary's voice echoed. Mary. The crew's eyes filled with tears. Frankie was also deeply moved. Such a deep bond. No wonder this ship birthed a clabbatterman. Smoke. Munch. Rowan wasted no words, directly activating his smoke fruit ability, then imbuing the smoke with the munch fruit's power. Being a smoke human, the smoke acted as an extension of his own body, allowing this application of his Parimsha ability. The smoke enveloped Mary's keel and a piece of atom wood. The munch fruit could consume anything, turning it into a part of one's body or combining it into something new. But all devil fruits had limits. Treasure tree atom was special, incredibly tough and resilient. Rowan couldn't guarantee success. VMM. The munch fruit's power activated. Ha. Rowan opened his eyes, his expression grim. He couldn't assimilate and combine them. Atom wood was far more resilient than he'd anticipated. Did it fail? Frankie sighed. Treasure tree atom wasn't ordinary wood, fusing it with normal wood was incredibly difficult. The crew's faces fell with sadness. Did they really have to say a temporary goodbye to Mary? Mary. Rowan murmured, looking at the ship, his eyes turning bloodshot. Mary was a gift from Kaya. He had an important promise with Kaya, she was waiting for him to return. Aboard Mary, they had experienced countless joys and sorrows. And Mary had saved all of them at NI's lobby. Now, must they part? Scenes from their journey on Mary flashed through Rowan's mind like a revolving lantern. Munch. Rowan roared, his eyes bloodshot. He wouldn't give up until the very last moment. The desire of the munch fruit was to consume everything. And then, transform the consumed things into a part of oneself, or combine them into something new. How similar was that? To the power to plunder everything? Rowan frantically activated the munch fruit's ability, combining it with the feeling of plundering everything, the desire to munch within his heart swelling, then merging with the desire to munch contained within the munch fruit itself. Awakening conditions met. Munch fruit. Awakened. VMM. A strange ripple emanated from Rowan's body. Whoosh. Whoosh. Countless black holes suddenly appeared on the ground around them. These black holes could devour anything. And transform it into a part of Rowan's body. The munch fruit had awakened at his moment, unleashing its full power. The devil fruit awakened. The crew exclaimed excitedly. Having seen the door fruit model, Dimensional Gate devil fruits awakening before, they instantly recognized what was happening. Another of Rowan's Parimsha fruits had awakened. Munch. Door. Whoosh. An air door materialized beneath the treasure tree atom, instantly swallowing it whole. The door fruit model, Dimensional Gate devil fruit ability, combined with the munch fruit ability. Unleashed. With both Parimsha fruits awakened, they could be perfectly combined. If the munch fruit alone wasn't enough, then add the spatial power of the door fruit model, Dimensional Gate devil fruit. Amplified by the spatial ability of the door fruit model, Dimensional Gate devil fruit, the munch fruit's power became terrifyingly potent. It even possessed a touch of reality warping power. This power. Rowan's eyes suddenly lit up. Twisting and warping devoured objects into the alternate dimension. Wasn't this ability? The combination of the door and munch fruits, practically identical to Obito Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan power. Kami. From the Naruto world? Kami. New ultimate technique trait, Kami, Apex Gold, combines the awakened Doradora and Munch Munch fruits. Creates a dimensional tier, capable of warping targets partially or fully into an alternate dimension. And like Obito, it could even forcibly draw targets into the alternate dimension. Of course, like all devil fruit powers, it could be countered by strong enough Haki, but even failing to fully capture a target. This powerful spatial warping would still significantly weaken their Haki defenses. It was an extremely useful ability. Rowan could also infuse this warping power into his physical attacks, combined with Haki, for even more horrifying power. And like Kakashi Hatake infusing Kami into his Rikiri. This Doradora and Munch Munch fruit combination could naturally also be integrated into a Logia ability, further enhancing its power. Of course, such usage would also carry a heavy stamina cost from wielding multiple devil fruits. But compared to the increase in power, it was a minor concern. I hadn't expected the awakened Munch Munch fruit to hold this kind of benefit. But Rowan's joy lasted only a moment, his expression turned serious again. These were just secondary gains. What truly mattered now was Mary. Kami. The atom wood, incredibly tough, couldn't be fused with ordinary wood. Even the Munch Munch fruit alone was insufficient. But had the spatial warping of the Doradora fruit model, dimensional gate devil fruit, directly warping it at the dimensional level. No matter how tough. Without Haki to negate a devil fruit's power, nothing could withstand such spatial distortion. Whoosh! Under this terrifying warping force, the atom wood was completely disintegrated and absorbed. Fuse! Rowan roared. He fused the atom wood with the Going Mary's keel. VMM. A brand new keel was born. Forged from the fusion of Treasure Tree Atom and Mary's original keel. A super strong keel. Mary. On the path to standing above all. I can't have you not accompanying me, you damn ship. Rowan roared with laughter. Did it? Did it work? The crew asked, their eyes wide with hope. Rowan. Thank you. Mary's voice echoed, filled with profound emotion. Everyone. I will take you. Anywhere you want to go. Mary's gentle voice declared. The crew erupted in cheers. IT worked. Mary. Chapter 161, 161, Bonus, Infinite Upgrade Capability. Bounties exceeding 100 million for everyone. An Emperor-level crew. The Munch Munch Fruit and Doradora Fruit model, Dimensional Gate Devil Fruit combination, Kami. Without Haki to resist these two Devil Fruit powers, nothing could withstand its space warping force. Not just the keel. Rowan used his Munch Munch Fruit power to reinforce every single material on the Going Mary. After strengthening the materials, the next step was to modify and upgrade the ship itself. With the Munch Munch Fruit's ability, expanding and remodeling Mary's entire structure was easy. To handle the upcoming voyages on the Grand Line and eventually the New World, such a remodel was essential. And this modification work was naturally undertaken jointly by Frankie and Iceberg. As apprentices of the legendary shipwright Tom, Frankie and Iceberg were arguably the top shipwrights on these seas. Their combined skill, using materials enhanced by the Munch Munch Fruit's power. The newly upgraded Going Mary would surpass even the Thousand Sunny from the original story in excellence. It's done. Under the combined efforts of Iceberg and Frankie, the new Going Mary was completed, fully upgraded. SUG. Seeing the new Mary, Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp. The amazement trio. Their eyes turned into stars as they roared with excitement. Ha ha ha. This is a super pirate ship, built by me and Iceberg, using brand new materials created by Big Bro Rowan's Munch Munch Fruit ability. Frankie declared, laughing with immense pride as he looked at the new Mary. Even our late teacher, Tom, couldn't have built such an outstanding ship. The power of the Munch Munch and Doradora Fruit model, Dimensional Gate Devil Fruits combined has elevated these materials to an unprecedented level on these seas. Iceberg added with a smile. The cornerstone of any ship was its materials. That was its life. Without Rowan's Devil Fruit abilities, it would have been impossible to fuse the incredibly resilient Treasure Tree Atom with other wood. But Rowan had done it. Using the space warping power of the combined Doradora and Munch Munch Fruits, he had broken down the atom wood on a spatial level, then fused it with Mary's original timbers. Not just atom wood, during the construction, Frankie and Iceberg incorporated many other high-grade woods into Mary's materials. The wood of the new Going Mary was now the strongest material ever seen on these seas. With the strongest foundation, even if Frankie and Iceberg's skills hadn't surpassed their teacher Tom's, they could still build the strongest ship in history. Meaning, the new Going Mary was even stronger than the Oro Jackson, the ship Tom built for the Pirate King Goldie Roger, the ship that reached the final island. She was, in name and reality, the strongest pirate ship. And with your Munch Munch Fruit ability, Little bro Rowan, if we encounter even more special wood during our voyage, we can further enhance Mary. It's no exaggeration to say. This ship can be continuously upgraded. Frankie laughed grandly, his eyes filled with awe. A ship that could be infinitely upgraded was unheard of on these seas. The Going Mary had become a super pirate ship, capable of infinite upgrades. You've both worked hard, Rowan said with a smile, looking at the new Going Mary. The ship was now significantly larger. All her materials, keel, deck, sails, had been completely upgraded. Before, Mary's ordinary wood, no matter how decorated, still looked somewhat fragile. But now, all her wood seemed to glow. The fusion of the incredibly resilient treasure tree atom and other high-grade woods made Mary's materials incredibly special. Just looking at her exuded a noble aura. This was the powerful presence of the strongest materials in history. The current Going Mary perfectly matched the status of Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates. Of course, Mary's overall appearance remained unchanged. Her iconic, cute sheep figurehead smile now seemed even more lively. The entire ship had been enlarged proportionally. Anyone would recognize her at a glance. Mary now had 4 levels, and everyone's rooms had been fully upgraded. Thanks to Rowan's Munch Fruit, even their beds were the most comfortable on the seas. The training room materials had also been comprehensively reinforced. Even if Rowan and the others trained inside, the materials could withstand the impact without shattering. Chopper's infirmary, Nami's cartography room, Robin's history research room. All were fully equipped. There was even a large aquarium observation room for displaying fish caught from the sea. And for emergency rations, if needed. This greatly relieved Chopper. Though Rowan protected him and often scolded Luffy and Sanji, those two still sometimes teased him about being emergency food. Chopper was overjoyed with his infirmary. His cute reaction made Rowan vigorously ruffle his little head. Nami and Robin were also very happy with their cartography and research rooms. But the biggest change to Mary was her propulsion system. Referencing the design of the Arc Maxim, after discussion, Frankie and Iceberg upgraded Mary's propulsion. She could now use the power of the Rumble fruit as a power source. And Frankie also incorporated the Cuda burst design from the original Thousand Sunny, allowing her to use cola as fuel for a Cuda burst. Combined with the Rumble fruit, it should be called a Cuda Thunder Burst. With the Rumble fruit's power added, her speed was now terrifyingly astonishing. Frankie also modified Mary's weaponry, allowing her to directly use the Rumble fruit's power for attacks. One cannon shot would unleash a terrifying railgun blast, its power extremely shocking. These attacks could also be pre-charged, serving as an additional offensive capability without draining Rowan's stamina in battle. Propulsion, weaponry, materials, scale. All received an all-around upgrade. And to accommodate the Rumble fruit's power, a large amount of gold was also integrated into the design. The current Mary was now, in name and reality, the Golden Mary. It's wonderful, Mary! Nami exclaimed happily. Her tangerine grove had also been upgraded, able to grow more tangerines. And with the Munch fruit's help, Frankie had turned it into a temperature-controlled grove, with humidity and temperature perfectly suited for tangerine growth. Oh? These training equipment materials are not bad. Zoro, having gone straight to the training room, commented with a smile after testing them. I have my own doctor's office too. Hello. I'm Dr. Chopper. How can I help you, you bastard? Chopper play-acted, dancing with joy. The storage room and cooking utensil materials are also top-notch. Not bad at all. Sanji also smiled. The research lab is great too. And there's a dedicated sniper's crow's nest. Usopp was also overjoyed. With a research lab, he could maximize his inventive capabilities. Rowan also felt the massive changes to Mary and smiled. But what made everyone happiest was that the one carrying them on their future voyages was still their precious comrade. Mary. Shishishi. Nami. How's the log pose? Luffy called out, perched on his special seat on Mary's figurehead. It's fully set. We can depart anytime. Nami replied, holding up her wrist. Prepare to set sail. Luffy yelled excitedly. Humphrey. You're gonna sail this ship. All the way to the final island. Frankie declared with a smile. Though their time together was short, Frankie had grown incredibly fond of Rowan and the crew. They were loyal, and even made a ship's Clabatterman manifest. And if not for them, he and Iceberg would surely have died at Cypher Pol 9 agents' hands. What are you still standing there for? Get on board already. Rowan asked, looking strangely at Frankie. Huh? Frankie froze, bewildered. Then he saw Luffy and the others all smiling at him. Let's go, Frankie. Come with us. To the final island. The end of the world. Luffy grinned broadly. Frankie was deeply moved. His dream was to build his dream ship and sail it to the end of the world. Now, The perfect opportunity was right before him. Ah, idiot. I already said I'm not going with you. I still have all my cute little brothers here. Frankie yelled stubbornly. He wasn't a lone wolf. If he left, what would happen to his underlings? They had risked their lives to save him at Anai's lobby. How could he abandon them? Big bro Frankie. You should go with them. Frankie turned incredulously. Zambai? What are you saying? I can't abandon you guys. Frankie stated grimly. Big bro Frankie. You should look at this first. And you too, big bro Rowan. Zambai said, his forehead beaded with cold sweat as he held out a stack of new wanted posters. These are your latest bounties, big bro Rowan. Zambai roared. Luffy and the others excitedly rushed over. First. Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy. Latest bounty, 1,035,000,000 Bailey. Zambai announced, his voice trembling. 1 billion? Chopper and Usopp's eyes nearly popped out. Alright. It went up. Over 1 billion Bailey. Luffy cackled, overjoyed. 1 billion, huh? Rowan smiled, looking at Luffy's poster. This bounty was standard for an emperor's second-in-command. Marine headquarters and the world government now completely regarded them as an emperor-level crew. Next. Pirate Hunter Roronoa Zoro. Bounty, 600 million Bailey. Humphrey. Zoro took his poster and smirked. Blackleg Sanji. Bounty, 550 million Bailey. What? Sanji snatched his poster. This time, it was a proper photo from his battle on Anai's lobby, not that abstract sketch. And his bounty had increased tenfold. A more dramatic jump than Zoro's or Luffy's. But. Damn it. Am I still lower than that damn mosshead? Sanji's eyes blazed with fire. Not happy, number 4? Zoro sneered. Phew. Sanji instantly ignited his diable jump and started brawling with Zoro. With his awakened exoskeleton, Sanji could now activate diable jam instantly. And then. Big Sis Desert Princess Vivi. Bounty, 450 million Bailey. I'm still young. Don't call me Big Sis. Vivi first retorted, then happily took her poster. Reaching this level meant she was one step closer to her dream of becoming an important asset for Rowan. Vivi smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. Cat Burglar Nami. Bounty, 300 million Bailey. WHY is mine 300 million? Nami clutched her head, shrieking. Probably because you can use Rowan's Rumble fruit power. Vivi chuckled. And then, Usopp. Your title has changed to Soj King. Bounty, 200 million Bailey. W8. 200 million? Usopp burst into tears. 200 million? Countless people would be after him now. Devil Child Nico Robin. Bounty, 200 million Bailey. Robin smiled, taking her poster. Looking at it, for the first time, she felt no fear, only a sense of belonging. She was standing together with Rowan. And Pet, Tony Chopper. Bounty, 50 Bailey. 50? Chopper froze. WHY? WHY am I only 50 Bailey? I fought like a man too. Rowan Chopper wailed, throwing himself into Rowan's arms. There. We'll try harder next time. Rowan chuckled, fondly stroking Chopper. And finally. Big bro Rowan. Zambai swallowed hard, holding out the last wanted poster. Wanted, dead or alive, the world's most dangerous man. The man WHO can steal everything. The strongest and most vicious devil fruit user in history. The 5th Emperor of the Sea. SKY Sovereign Rowan. Bounty, 3,988,900,000 Bailey. Chapter 162, 162, The Ambition of a Dual Emperor Crew. 3 chapters today, new week, let's push. 3.9889 billion Bailey? Everyone gasped upon seeing the number. Though Rowan's bounty was already 3 billion, this new figure was ridiculously high. Nearly 4 billion Bailey. Wait. How much are the 4 emperors' bounties? Sanjay asked. Their bounties had reached this level. Just how much were the legendary 4 emperors worth? How far were they now from a true emperor's crew? Sanjay's question made everyone turn serious. Rowan's dream was to stand above all. And they were to be the strength that helped him achieve it. Luffy's dream was to become king of the pirates. Whether helping Rowan or helping Luffy, the 4 emperors were 4 super great pirates they could not avoid. The 4 emperors? Rowan smiled. Activating the intelligence enhancement of his human fruit, Rowan could easily recall all the plot details he had seen on Earth. Since we're on the topic, let me fully explain the composition of the Emperor crews. You all have now truly earned the right to know this information. To follow me and pull the 4 emperors from their thrones. Rowan declared, looking at his crew with a confident smile. Previously, Rowan had only given them a general overview of the world's power structure. He had never told them the specific bounties of the four emperors. In the One Piece world, a bounty was a direct reflection of a pirate's strength. The emperor's bounties were too high. Telling the crew before they were strong enough would have placed immense, crushing pressure on them, potentially hindering their growth. But now, the crew's strength had reached a level where they were qualified to participate in the highest level confrontations on these seas. Knowing their targets would only accelerate their growth. The four emperors' bounties, from lowest to highest, are: Captain of the Red Hair Pirates, Emperor Red-Haired Shanks. Bounty, 4,048,900,000 Bailey. SUG. Shanks's bounty is over 4 billion Bailey. Luffy grinned. Shanks was the one who set Luffy on his pirate path. Luffy deeply respected him as a great pirate. Hearing this bounty filled Luffy not with fear, but with motivation. Though Shanks was his role model, there could only be one pirate king. His own bounty had to surpass Shanks's. Luffy's eyes burned with fighting spirit. The only female among the four emperors. A natural-born monster. User of the soul fruit, capable of manipulating souls and stealing lifespan. Captain of the Big Mom Pirates. Emperor Charlotte Linlin. Bounty, 4,388,000,000 Bailey. Governor General of the Beasts Pirates. Known as the world's strongest creature due to possessing one of the most powerful mythical zone devil fruits. The Fish Fruit model, Azure Dragon Devil Fruit. Emperor Kaido of the Beasts. Bounty, 4,611,100,000 Bailey. And finally, the world's strongest man. User of the strongest Paransha Devil Fruit, the Tremor Fruit. Known as the man who can destroy the world. Captain of the Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. Bounty, 5,046,000,000 Bailey. Rowan laid out all the information without hesitation. 3 of the 4 emperors are super powerful devil fruit users. Zoro's expression turned grim. Rowan had already shown them how terrifying powerful devil fruits could be. If not for Rowan's own devil fruit abilities, they never would have won the war against the Buster Call. And the Emperor's devil fruit abilities sounded more horrifying than the last. One of the strongest mythical zones, the strongest Paransha, capable of destroying the world. And one that could manipulate souls and steal lifespan. Each was an incredibly frightening power. Correct. Among the 4 emperors, only Red Hair is not a devil fruit user. Shanks, like the former pirate king Goldie Roger, is a non-user. Consequently, Red Hair also possesses the strongest haki. Rowan explained. So the pirate king Roger wasn't a devil fruit user either. The crew murmured in awe. Hearing Rowan's words, Zoro and Sanji's eyes burned with fighting spirit. The world's most dominant haki user. Red-haired Shanks. And the former pirate king, Roger. Both were non-users who became top-tier powerhouses of their eras through powerful haki. This gave Zoro and Sanji immense confidence. For the sake of their dreams, they couldn't eat devil fruits. Sanji, who considered the clear fruit the romance of men, never truly considered eating one. How could he find the all blue if he couldn't swim? And Zoro, to become the world's greatest swordsman, had to dedicate himself entirely to the way of the sword. Eating a devil fruit would inevitably distract him. Though they had witnessed firsthand the scary combat boost from powerful devil fruits, and knew Rowan could obtain them. At this moment, Zoro and Sanji's resolve was firm. Devil fruits, though powerful, were contrary to their paths. If Shanks and Roger could become top-tier powerhouses without them, so could they. Rowan, with his powerful observation haki, naturally sensed Zoro and Sanji's emotional fluctuations and smiled. A clear goal gave one the drive to grow, forging a more resolute spirit. And in the One Piece power system, where spiritual strength was paramount, a resolute spirit was invaluable. After his own spiritual metamorphosis, even Rowan's rate of haki improvement via Born of the Sea had accelerated significantly. Zoro and Sanji's haki would now also improve faster. This was the main reason Rowan shared this detailed intel. As for the Emperor's second-in-commands, their bounties range from 1 billion to 1.5 billion Bailey. Rowan continued. High-ranking commanders of Emperor crews have bounties between 500 million and 1 billion Bailey. Like Luffy's brother, Fire Fist Ace, 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. His bounty is 550 million Bailey. Rowan stated calmly. After waking up, Rowan had checked Ace's Vivre card. It was stable. But his human fruits enhanced intellect allowed him to recall the original story's timeline. Ace was captured by Blackbeard shortly after the Anai's Lobby arc. And his powerful observation haki detected faint traces on the Vivre card. Signs of it having shrunk and then expanded again. A Vivre card shrinks when its owner's life force weakens, but recovers when their life force does. It seemed Ace had already been captured by Blackbeard. During the time they were all unconscious. The Summit War was about to begin. This time, The combat strength is ample. Rowan looked at Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. Luffy possessed 4 Emperor's commander-level strength. Zoro and Sanji were very close to it. These 3 main combatants were now renowned powerhouses on the seas. Rowan intended to take these 3 main fighters to the Summit War battlefield. And before the war began, Rowan would put the 3 of them, especially Luffy, through demonic training. Back on Earth, Rowan had seen posts and fanfics imagining what would happen if an evolved Luffy appeared at the Summit War. Now, as the one actually pulling the strings, Rowan would of course ensure Luffy evolved to the maximum extent. Rowan looked at Luffy's traits, a plan quickly forming in his mind. My bounty is higher than Ace's now. Shishishi. Luffy beamed. But then he shivered. Why does Rowan's gaze feel a little off? Wait a minute. Rowan, your bounty is nearly the same as Shanks's. Luffy's bounty is on par with Emperor's second-in-commands. Zoro and Sanji are at the level of high-ranking commanders. Plus the rest of us. Usopp counted on his fingers, cold sweat suddenly pouring down his face. Hey. Are we already considered an Emperor-level pirate crew? Usopp clutched his head, exclaiming. Shishishi. An Emperor-level crew. Sounds great. Luffy grinned. Humphrey. Now this is getting interesting. Zoro smiled. Wah. Rowan. I have a 300 million Bailey bounty. Won't I be targeted? Nami whined, clinging to Rowan's arm. With me here, what are you afraid of? Rowan's words made Nami cling even tighter. With her climate sense, Nami could wield a portion of Rowan's rumble fruit's power. A direct hit from her lightning would severely injure even a Marine Headquarters Vice Admiral or an Emperor's commander. Nami's combat power was very strong. The Navy giving Nami a 300 million Bailey bounty was based on this fact. After being recognized as an Emperor-level crew, their bounties were now directly linked to their strength. They were a true, bona fide, Emperor-level pirate crew. Of course, the 4 Emperor positions, like the 7 warlords, were fixed. To become an Emperor, one had to pull one of the existing 4 from their throne. This was why Rowan was currently only called the 5th Emperor. Robin thought of this as well. So, next. Are we going to take down one of the 4 Emperors? Robin's question made everyone look towards Rowan. In Rowan's and Luffy's dreams, the 4 Emperors were major obstacles. Shanks is Luffy's role model. If we fight him, it'll be last. Whitebeard is Luffy's brother's captain, so he's temporarily excluded. The only ones left are Big Mom and Kaido? Robin analyzed, rubbing her chin. Shishishi. Just pick one. But we have to wait until I get stronger. We can't let Rowan fight an Emperor alone. Luffy grinned. Luffy was well aware of his own strength, he couldn't defeat an Emperor now. But to become Pirate King, he had to use at least one Emperor's head as a stepping stone. Why not just take down Kaido and Big Mom together? Rowan declared, laughing heartily. On Earth, because Ben Beckman's combat power was never fully revealed but was clearly immense, many called the Red Hair Pirates a dual Emperor crew. But that was just a nickname. Rowan wanted 2 actual Emperor seats. To make their crew a true, bona fide, dual Emperor crew. Great idea. Zoro grinned. Well said. Sanji lit a cigarette, smiling. Big Bro Zambai. They're so scary. The Frankie family huddled together, trembling. Why yeah. As expected of Big Bro Rowan. Zambai stammered, drenched in cold sweat, but still filled with awe. This is the man with the nearly 4 billion bounty. Casually talking about taking down 2 emperors. What incredible ambition. Wait. Big Bro Frankie. The most important thing is this. Zambai suddenly remembered, pulling out another wanted poster. Wanted, dead or alive cyborg Frankie bounty, 100 million Bailey. Zambai's forehead was beaded with cold sweat. Frankie's eyes also narrowed. 100 million Bailey. Iceberg's face turned grim. This bounty would surely attract powerful Marines and bounty hunters. And many pirates would want to take a 100 million Bailey head to make a name for themselves. More importantly, Frankie still possessed Pluton's blueprints. And the only one who could protect Frankie was. Iceberg looked towards that legendary figure. Sky Sovereign Rowan. Chapter 163, Bonus, charging towards the final throne. The public execution of Fire Fist Ace. Another bonus chapter soon. Frankie. Go with them. Iceberg said, looking seriously at Frankie. Iceberg's meaning was clear. With a 100 million Bailey bounty and the Pluton blueprints almost certainly in his possession, Frankie was now in an extremely dangerous position. Whether it was the world government or the countless pirates and bounty hunters looking to make a name by taking his 100 million Bailey head. Neither were threats Frankie and the Frankie family could handle on their own. The only reason Frankie had been able to work on the ship peacefully so far was because of that man's presence. Sky Sovereign Rowan. Only by boarding their ship could Frankie be truly safe. Besides, for Frankie to achieve his dream, joining their crew was the best possible opportunity. An Emperor-level super pirate crew. Not just anyone got a chance to join something like that. On these seas, the mere appearance of an Emperor's Jolly Roger struck fear into the hearts of countless people. Though Frankie's bounty was only 100 million Bailey, if he truly joined this crew, he would instantly become a major figure on the world stage. Whether for safety or for his dream, Frankie joining this ship was the best choice. Zambai and the others understood this deeply, which was why they urged their big bro Frankie to go with the Straw Hats. They weren't afraid to die. Especially not for Frankie, their willingness to storm an I's lobby was proof of that. But they also knew that against the world government and the endless tide of pirates seeking Frankie's bounty, they were too weak. If Frankie stayed with them, the eventual outcome would either be getting wiped out by the world government or killed by glory-seeking pirates and bounty hunters. I'm not the kind of man who joins a crew just because he's afraid to die. Frankie declared stubbornly, his pervert pride making it hard for him to back down. Big bro Frankie. Why, you'll be a burden to us. Zambai finally blurted out, gritting his teeth. He couldn't let his big bro stay here and wait for death. Even if it meant severing ties with him, he had to do it. Frankie pushed up his sunglasses, his eyes turning dark. Wham! Frankie's fist slammed into Zambai's head, knocking him to the ground. Don't say stupid things. You damn underlings. Frankie roared. He understood Zambai's intention. These lovable underlings of his weren't afraid of death. They had gone to an I's lobby to rescue him without a second thought. At the time, who could have guaranteed they'd come back alive? They were facing the monolithic world government. They went to a place like an I's lobby fully expecting not to return. Saying those hurtful things now was only to make him leave with the Straw Hats without any worries. Frankie. A calm voice said. Frankie turned, startled, to see Rowan had placed a hand on his shoulder. You have to cherish your comrades' feelings. Making them worry like this. That's not what a real pervert should do, right? Rowan said with a smile. This battle at Inai's lobby had not only forged a true powerhouse's will within Rowan but had also given him a new understanding of the word comrade. Shishishi. That's right. Luffy yelled with a grin. Everyone else smiled in agreement. Rowan's words struck a deep chord within Frankie. Looking at the worried eyes of his underlings, the iron-willed man's eyes began to moisten. The shipwright's job on this vessel is yours. Come on. Go with us to the end of the world. Rowan declared, laughing heartily. Guess I have no choice. A great ship like this, and you guys only know how to patch holes. The shipwright of your crew will be me. Frankie wiped the tears from his eyes, a broad grin on his face. A pervert's farewell. No tears needed. Frankie would say goodbye to his underlings with a smile. Yasha. A new comrade. Luffy cheered. That's great. Chopper bounced up and down, dancing with joy. Everyone else smiled. Big bro Frankie. The Frankie family burst into tears. Don't cry, you bastards. Big bro Rowan and big bro Straw Hat are trustworthy men. Zambai choked out, desperately trying to stifle his own sobs. As Frankie's most loyal underling, Zambai knew Frankie's pervert code well. Crying at a pervert's farewell was unacceptable. Big bro Frankie didn't want them to worry. They, in turn, didn't want him to worry. Set sail. Hoist the mainsail. Nami commanded with a smile. Ooh. Rowan and the others raised their arms, laughing heartily. The new Going Merry, with its new comrade Frankie, set sail once more. Next destination, the Florian Triangle. Rowan looked at Nami expertly commanding the ship's navigation and smiled. There, another target whose fortune could be plundered awaited. The warlord of the sea, Gecko Moria. And also, Rowan's observation hockey sensed a familiar, powerful presence in the nearby sea. Iron Fist Garp. Vice Admiral Garp, the Going Merry has set sail. Should we continue to approach? Garp's adjutant, Boggart, asked, saluting. Let's get a bit closer. Just a look from afar. That brat Sky Sovereign Rowan's observation hockey has surely detected us already. Garp replied, looking towards the distant, faintly visible Going Merry with a smile. Aren't you going to meet your grandson, Garp? Giant, still on Garp's ship, asked. Forget it. Even Sakazuki lost to that brat. And the Buster Call suffered such a major defeat. Even if we met, with my status, there's not much I could say to Luffy. With Sky Sovereign Rowan around, Luffy has been completely swept into the center of this era. Garp sighed. Luffy was no longer the child he could freely beat up with his fist of love. He was now a great pirate with a bounty over 1 billion. In the first half of the Grand Line, there were no more opponents for them. Next, They would inevitably have to face the 4 emperors of the New World. At this point, Garp could no longer offer Luffy any advice. Just watching his grandson sail away from afar was enough. I just wonder which emperor Sky Sovereign Rowan has chosen as his target. Given Luffy's situation, Red Hair and Whitebeard are likely excluded for now. It should be Kaido or Big Mom. Neither of those two are weak. Once war breaks out, the outcome will be unpredictable. I hope we can meet again, Luffy. Garp sighed, watching the faintly visible Mary. At this moment, he wasn't a marine hero, but just an old man worrying about his grandson. Rowan. Beside Giant, Tashigi's eyes were filled with complex emotions. She had vowed to arrest Rowan, but the gap between them was only growing larger. Even a marine admiral had been defeated by him. Could she truly stand before Rowan as an equal again? Thinking of her past vow, Tashigi bit her lip hard. No intention of meeting, huh? Rowan's observation hockey had locked onto Garp's position. Garp's words were also picked up by the electric waves from his rumble fruit combined with his hockey. Rowan didn't intend to tell Luffy and have them meet. They were on opposite sides. Why add unnecessary trouble? The original Straw Hats who stormed Enai's lobby were on a completely different level than the current crew. Garp, in his capacity as a marine hero, couldn't freely make contact with them. Their meeting would cause massive waves across the seas, just like the meeting between Whitebeard and Shanks. Rowan was now a super great pirate on the same level as Whitebeard and Shanks. Besides, if they were to meet, the summit war wasn't far off. Frankie, let's have a shot. Rowan said, looking towards Frankie. Oh. Wanna test out the performance of the ship I modified? Frankie exclaimed excitedly. Is it coming? Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp's eyes turned into stars. Nami immediately grabbed Rowan's arm. Vivi, though now incredibly strong, still acted like a young girl before Rowan, grabbing his other arm and hiding in his embrace. Robin's eyes flickered, then she smiled elegantly, wrapping her arms around Rowan's neck from behind. Gurgle. Gurgle. The unique propulsion system Frankie built, combining the Kuda Burst and Rumble Fruit power, began to charge. Thunderburst. Frankie yelled, slamming the launch button. VMM. Terrifying energy gathered at the stern of Mary. The combined power of the Kuda Burst and Rumble Fruit. The Thunderburst was unleashed instantly. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening roar of hurricane force winds and crackling thunder, the Going Mary shot forward like a meteor, leaping off the sea's surface and rocketing towards the horizon. Yahoo! Luffy yelled excitedly, clinging to Mary's railing. Chopper and Usopp clung desperately to Luffy, their earlier excitement turning to tears of terror. Hey! This power is no joke. Zoro and Sanji also gripped a railing tightly. Kaya! Nami and Vivi screamed like young girls, holding on to Rowan's arms for dear life. Robin also held on a bit tighter. At this speed, even with her flower fruit, she felt a bit unsteady. Didn't expect it to be this powerful. Rowan laughed heartily, beautiful women in his arms, feeling the rushing wind, his mood excellent. With the Rumble Fruit's energy added, this thunderburst was several times faster than the original. Only the new Mary, arguably the strongest pirate ship on the seas now, could withstand such energy. Frankie was also ecstatic. For a ship he modified to reach such heights, was an honor for him as a shipwright. Bwahahaha. Setting sail like that. As expected of my grandson. Garp laughed, watching Mary instantly fly out of their sight. It seems their pirate ship has been reinforced and upgraded. Giant sighed. The first half of the Grand Line's climate was already bizarre and terrifying, but compared to the New World, it was child's play. That's why New World pirates called the first half paradise. Without a good ship, completing the New World voyage was impossible. But now, this new Mary, capable of withstanding such a terrifying energy blast and flying unharmed. One could only imagine the quality of its materials. With his ship, Sky Sovereign Rowan and the Straw Hat Pirates had completed their most important puzzle piece, and were truly beginning their charge towards the final throne. Towards that ultimate great treasure. One Piece. Vice Admiral Garp. A call from headquarters. Just then, Garp's adjutant, Boggart, rushed out from the cabin, his forehead beaded with cold sweat. Garp suddenly had a very bad feeling. Fleet Admiral Sengoku requests you and Vice Admiral Giant return to headquarters immediately. An emergency headquarters meeting is about to be convened. The topic for discussion is... Boggart swallowed hard. The public execution of Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division Commander. Fire Fist Ace. Boggart's words made Garp's pupils constrict sharply. What did you say? Garp completely lost his composure, his eyes turning bloodshot as he grabbed Boggart by the collar and roared. Fire Fist Ace has been captured. Imprisoned in Impel Down. The one who captured him was former Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division member, now one of the 7 warlords. Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach. Bogard knew about Garp's relationship with Ace, but could only follow orders and report. Ace. Garp roared, then closed his eyes in anguish. Ace's identity had been exposed. Back to headquarters. Chapter 164, after setting sail, under Nami's command, the Going Merry headed towards its next destination, the Florian Triangle. During the voyage, Rowan began preparations for the impending summit war. By putting his three main combatants, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, to demonic training. Using his Conqueror's coding, he frequently beat all three of them into unconsciousness. Sanji, having awakened his modified exoskeleton and fully gained its regenerative abilities, could now endure this brutal training regimen. This training method left even Frankie, who prided himself on being a pervert, completely dumbfounded. It was too savage. But after repeatedly being knocked out and waking up, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, empowered by their own traits, grew stronger at a rapid pace. Luffy, especially, by digesting the desire for liberation and the spiritual power directly infused by Rowan, was improving incredibly quickly. In his Gear 4th, he had even developed a new form beyond the initial Boundman. Snake Man. Boundman form showcased the raw power of his rubber body, while Snake Man showcased its speed. Against different opponents, Luffy could now switch forms accordingly. Against power-type enemies, use Boundman. Against speed-type enemies, use Snake Man. However, Rowan's main focus wasn't on Luffy's Devil Fruit progress. The human fruit model, Sun God Nika Devil Fruit, though hailed as the strongest Devil Fruit, even with Rowan directly infusing desire for liberation, awakening it in a short time was still nearly impossible. The desire for liberation accumulated from the first half of the Grand Line was insufficient for a full awakening. The desire infused into Luffy on Skypiea was almost completely digested. It was enough to bring Luffy's Devil Fruit abilities to the level he possessed when he first clashed with Kaido in Wano, but that was the limit for now. To achieve awakening, far more desire for liberation was needed. But even with just the digested desire, Luffy reaching the level of a top-tier 4 Emperor's commander was no problem. And to ascend to the Admiral level. Since his Devil Fruit couldn't get him there yet, he had to rely on Haki. Luffy's Conqueror's Haki was already very close to the deep gold tier. He just needed one final push to begin grasping Conqueror's coding and using it for preliminary attacks. Rowan even directly demonstrated how to use Armament Haki, Raya-O. Surprisingly, Luffy mastered it incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, he understood how to use Raya-O. This made Rowan laugh. I really am the strongest mentor. But then Rowan noticed something was amiss. Zoro and Sanji also mastered Raya-O's usage very quickly. Only then did Rowan realize. Raya-O was essentially the flow of Armament Haki, allowing direct internal attacks. Making Haki flow was the key to mastering this power. But Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji had already experienced this Haki flow countless times during their demonic training. Rowan's Conqueror's coding had directly infused spiritual power into their bodies. They had experienced the flow of Haki with their entire beings. Combined with the fact that their Haki strength was now sufficient, mastering Raya-O quickly was natural. Rowan, far from feeling this was wrong, felt even more confirmed in his strongest mentor status. This training method, no one else could replicate it. It required the spiritual channel established between comrades for him to perfectly infuse spiritual power into their bodies for them to digest. This was a training method unique to Rowan on these seas. Calling himself the strongest mentor was well-deserved. And since Luffy had been repeatedly struck by his Conqueror's coding, experiencing the flow of Conqueror's Haki with his entire being, the intelligence enhancement from Rowan's human fruit led him to a conclusion. The moment Luffy's Conqueror's Haki reached deep gold tier, he would instantly grasp how to use Conqueror's coding. With this realization, Rowan began even more frenziedly infusing spiritual power into Luffy. At the Summit War, even if Luffy can't pull out Gear 5th, he better at least show off some Conqueror's coding to make me look good. Luffy, hearing he could soon master Conqueror's coding, was also incredibly excited. He had seen its terrifying power firsthand from Rowan. This was a fierce power only a handful of people on the seas could master. Mastering this power would qualify him to challenge the 4 Emperors. Rowan had said it. The 4 Emperor positions. They would take 2, 1 for each of them. Become the only dual Emperor crew on the seas. For that, he couldn't fall behind. He had to get stronger with all his might. Now, on the verge of mastering Conqueror's coding, Luffy trained with insane dedication. Zoro was also pushing himself even harder, though his Haki lagged behind Luffy's. He wasn't far from preliminarily grasping Conqueror's coding either. Once he did, he too would join the ranks of the truly strong on the seas, one step closer to becoming the world's greatest swordsman. Sanji, however, looked like he just sucked on a lemon, utterly sour. He didn't have Conqueror's hockey. Watching that mosshead madly dashing towards mastering Conqueror's coding, Sanji also felt a sense of urgency. Fortunately, Rowan had already told him he'd get him Conqueror's hockey soon enough. This motivated Sanji to train diligently while also constantly preparing more delicious meals tailored to Rowan's tastes. Is this flattery? No. This is social grace. While helping the main three combatants grow, Rowan hadn't neglected the others. He continued infusing spiritual power, helping them grow stronger. As for Frankie, Rowan didn't need any of his traits. And because Frankie was a cyborg, his body modified into an inhuman structure, mastering armament hockey. The fusion of spiritual power and physical energy was nearly impossible for him. Frankie could only get stronger by further modifying himself. And with Rowan's munch fruit, he was Frankie's best assistant. As for constructing the giant robot, General Frankie, Rowan wasn't worried. Though he had taken the munch fruit, preventing the original Wapometal from being created. Rowan, with his human fruit-enhanced intellect, could easily deduce the synthesis method for such a metal, given the existing information. Soon, Wapometal, or rather, Sky Sovereign alloy as Rowan now called it, was created using the munch fruit. With this new alloy, Frankie also began contemplating how to get stronger. The atmosphere of constant improvement on the Mary was infectious. Having become a comrade of this crew, Frankie truly saw them as his own family. Getting stronger for his family was a pervert's romance. Vivi was constantly training her hockey and sand fruit abilities. Robin was doing the same, training her flower fruit and hockey. Robin now had a new dream, to contribute more to Rowan's cause. For that, Robin also needed greater strength. As for Chopper, Usopp, and Nami, due to their innate timidity, awakening hockey was a distant prospect. But Chopper's human fruit, thanks to Rowan directly infusing the desire for awakening into him, only needed to be fully assimilated to awaken. Now, Chopper could use his giant point without losing consciousness, significantly boosting his combat power. Usopp was constantly honing his sniping skills and discussing new, powerful weapon designs with Frankie. Nami continued studying meteorology. With her climate sense and climate weapon, the deeper her knowledge, the stronger she became. Amidst this diligent training, the Going Merry sailed into a mysterious sea area. The Florian Triangle, also known as the Dark Sea, perpetually shrouded in dim, eerie black clouds, devoid of sunlight, with no sense of direction. As a mandatory route on the Grand Line, hundreds of ships vanished here every year. This eerie feeling. Why do we have to pass through here to get to the next island? Nami shivered, looking at her log pose. The next island after this is Sabati Archipelago. Reaching there means we've completed the first half of the Grand Line. After that is the New World. Rowan replied with a smile. After entering the Grand Line, there were 7 possible routes. They had chosen the route starting from Alabasta. After the Florian Triangle, all 7 routes converged. Meaning, regardless of the initial route chosen, every crew had to pass through the Florian Triangle to reach Sabati Archipelago. This was why the Florian Triangle was a mandatory passage on the Grand Line. The New World. Can't wait. Luffy grinned. But first, we have to get through here. Nami murmured, studying her log pose, then using her climate sense to perceive the wind and currents, planning their route. My observation hockey is being affected in this sea area. Zoro and Sanji commented, their expressions grim. It is a marvel of the Grand Line, after all. This is where we rely on our navigator. Rowan smiled towards Nami. Nami instantly puffed out her chest proudly. So gloomy. Maybe ghosts will appear and tear us to pieces. Robin mused, rubbing her chin, habitually saying something terrifying. Don't say such scary things, Robin. Usopp cried, tears welling up in his eyes. Jaya. Are there ghosts? Chopper shrieked, burying his face in Rowan's chest. No ghosts. However, Rowan commented, stroking Chopper's adorable fur, then looked out into the distance. Yoa oh deliver Binks's brew to your side, we sail like the sea breeze, free as can be riding the waves, wild and free accompanied by a lilting melody. A dilapidated pirate ship slowly emerged from the mist, heading towards the Going Merry. Someone singing? And that's a pirate ship. Nami's eyes widened in fear, and she instinctively grabbed Rowan. In this environment, a sudden song and the appearance of a pirate ship were too bizarre. The others also grew wary. As the pirate ship drew closer through the mist, they finally got a clear view of the situation on board. A skeleton with an afro, dressed in a smart suit, sat at a rickety wooden table, elegantly sipping black tea. His jawbone moved up and down as he sang the widely known pirate shanty, Binks's Brew. Everyone except Rowan stared, completely dumbfounded. A singing skeleton? Yo-oh-oh. A pirate ship I've never seen before. How delightful. Brook let out his signature laugh, his joy overflowing. Kaya. A ghost. Nami shrieked, instantly swinging her climatact, summoning thunderclouds from the rumble fruit. Kaya. Vivi also jumped in fright, seeing Nami attack, and subconsciously activated her sand fruit power. Boom. Whoosh. Terrifying lightning and a violent sandstorm hurtled towards the bewildered Brook. Crack. Thud. A distorted air door materialized, swallowing both Nami's and Vivi's attacks whole. The combined power of the door and munch fruits. Cammy. Calm down. He's not an enemy. Rowan chuckled helplessly. Nami and Vivi were still just 18-year-old girls. A living skeleton was too shocking for them. Devil fruit abilities. Elogia. Why you scared the wits out of me? Ah. Though I have no wits, just a pile of bones. Yo-oh-oh. Brook yelped, frantically patting his own ribcage, yet still cracking his signature skeleton jokes. Devil fruit? Hearing the familiar term, Nami and Vivi instantly relaxed. If he knew about devil fruits and feared their power, he probably wasn't some evil spirit. And with Rowan's reassurance, the crew now looked at the skeleton with more curiosity than fear. Thank you so much for saving me. Otherwise, this pile of bones would surely have scattered. Brook bowed politely to Rowan. This gesture made Nami and Vivi blush slightly with embarrassment. They had launched the attacks, yet he was thanking them. By the way, where is this ghost you spoke of? Such a scary thing. I've lived here for so many years and never seen one. Brook looked around fearfully. Brook sensed something was off, seeing everyone staring at him. You don't mean me, do you? Brook pointed at himself, utterly shocked. Of course I tease you. Chopper and Usopp roared in unison, transforming into their sharp-toothed angry states. Shishishi. You're really interesting. Be my comrade. Luffy, his curiosity piqued again, instantly extended an invitation to Brook. All right. Brook smiled. Oi? Everyone except Rowan stared, shocked. One asked, the other agreed, just like that. However, I cannot leave this place right now. Brook said, having come aboard the Mary. Though surrounded by beautiful ladies, Brook refrained from his usual flirtatious lines. Those earlier attacks had frightened him, angering these beautiful ladies might genuinely get him killed. He had died once already. He had no desire to die again. Can't leave? Why? The crew looked curious. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Brook. I'm a musician. Brook introduced himself politely. Brook? That name sounds familiar. Sanji mused, rubbing his chin. Who? Zoro didn't remember the name at all. Brook of the Rumbar Pirates, perhaps. Rowan interjected with a smile. Eh? Hearing Rowan's words, everyone, including Brook himself, cried out in shock. Zoro and Sanji also stared wide-eyed. Why you? How do you know about me? Brook stammered, shocked. The Rumbar Pirates? The crew Laboon has been waiting for? Nami murmured. Laboon? WHO's that? Frankie, having just joined, had no idea. Robin and Chopper, though they hadn't met Laboon, had heard Nami and the others tell his story during their voyage. Laboon? You've seen Laboon? Is he alright? Brook asked, his voice filled with overwhelming emotion. Shishishi. Laboon has grown as big as an island now. He's been waiting for you at Twin Capes all this time. Luffy grinned. He didn't mention Laboon ramming the red line and them having to stop him. Knowing his friends were safe was enough. That's wonderful. He's doing well. That's truly wonderful. Brook looked up at the sky, tears streaming down his skeletal face. Using Laboon and Brook spawned as a conduit, loading Revive Fruit trait. Revive Fruit. Equipping complete. Chapter 165, A Shocked Brook. Revive Fruit awakened. Rowan, man of the underworld. I'm a user of the Revive Fruit. Our Rumbar pirates were annihilated after encountering a powerful enemy. I, who had already died, was brought back when this devil fruit, which had shown no effect before, finally activated. My soul returned from the afterlife, but unfortunately, in this Florian triangle, finding one ship isn't easy. By the time I found my body, it was just a pile of bones. Brook's voice was filled with a deep,